It says on air. Good evening and welcome to the March 10th City Commission work session. And I have been informed by several people that today is Chuck Norris's birthday, so there you go. I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask for the roll call.
Commissioner Mitchell? Here. Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Commissioner Marl?
Here.
Commissioner Wilson?
Here.
Mayor McGriff?
Present. We have a number of items on our general business agenda this evening, and I would like to start with the city-sponsored public events grants and permitting process overview and discussion. And I would like the city manager to lead this off. Before we get into this item, I want to just make a couple of observations. So I'm hoping that we will be able to focus our discussion on the policy side of what probably might be changes that we are anticipating, and to have a constructive, as we always do, conversation. And mainly what we want to probably do is try to come up with some things that we think might be more workable, if that's the direction we go in, and give staff some direction on where they would like to go. So I will turn this over to the city manager.
Thank you. So good evening, everybody. Before I get started, there's a couple new faces around the table of my staff, so maybe we could just do quick introductions of who we are, and why don't we start, even though everybody knows who you are. But
Do they?
at the table.
Well, at the table, yes.
Tom Kissinger, Parks and Recreation Deputy Director.
Patrick Armstrong, Engineering Technician.
Josh Wheeler, Assistant City Engineer.
James Graham, Economic Development Manager.
All right, thank you. And I'm just going to kind of kick this off a little bit. One, I know all the commissioners received the email, that Mr. Graham is leaving us next Monday. So I hope, over 6 years with the city, done a lot of work in economic development, spent a lot of time trying to make the business climate here in Oregon City better, and I just want to thank him for that. And one of the areas I think, while there's always improvements that we can make, has been, trying to, really work on city-sponsored events, how those support community events that our community members want to see, fulfilling the goal that the commission has identified, which was driven by some of the results that we saw from the community survey. And so I brought this team here tonight. I wasn't exactly sure where this discussion was going to go or how much detail you wanted in terms of how we as the city process different applications that come in, right? We have events that happen in rights of way that have different impacts and different review process than something that happens in a park, or a film permit that might be at a private property's house versus on a city-owned property or in a right-of-way. And so, because of the uniqueness of these applications that come in, we've put together an internal team that has the specialty in each of the departments that are potentially impacted. When we talk about public works with right-of-way, we have parks, obviously our city properties, we have our police department, depending on the size of the event. And so really it's like, okay, we were able to identify and have the ability to go to each of those departments to help try and get through that review process. And at one of the meetings when this was asked to put on the city commission agenda for a work session, there were some areas, topics that were put out there: city-sponsored public event grant program, park rentals, special event right-of-way permits, road closure permits, film permits. And so, at that meeting as well, really what started this was the public event grant program administration, and the street closure policy, right? So we had some folks from Downtown Oregon City Association concerned about, how closures happen on Main Street, what those impacts might be for the businesses, how often they happen, who approves them, should that process be changed, should there be more clarity? So, I've heard comments, maybe there should only be one closure on Main Street a month, right? If that's something the commission would like, we can certainly change that, right? There was an impact because of noticing when an event was going to happen, that 5 days just wasn't enough. So we went ahead and changed the policy already to 10 days. Now, if the commission wants 14 days or 21 days, that's kind of some of the direction that we're looking for here, what's appropriate. I think another thing that we heard is, should the commission be approving all events that close right-of-ways or close streets, right? And in that case, are we talking just Main Street? If the commission wants to be the approver of that, we do the Teddy Bear Parade, right? We do Homecoming Parade. So there's different events that might not necessarily be on Main Street, right? They're in different parts of the city. And just getting a little bit of clarity around, if it's a reoccurring event, does staff just move forward with the closure? And if it's a new event, it should come to the commission, right? Only events that receive public funding should be able to close a street. So, there's been a lot of ideas put out there, and I think we're kind of trying to start at that higher level of what's the interest of the commission, what are we trying to solve, and what are some ideas or changes that we could make to accommodate that. I think the other thing I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit is that I can remember a long time ago when we actually had a half-time employee who just did Metro enhancement grants. We hired her to just do Metro enhancement, right? And since that time—
Michelle Benville.
That's correct, Michelle Benville, yes. And since that time, how we staff departments has matured and changed, right? Back then, we didn't have an economic development department. We didn't have anybody in parks doing events or helping with put those on. We've grown since those days. And as we started an economic development department, it's like, oh, let's give them Metro enhancement grants. Let's give them city-sponsored events. Let's give them film permits, right? And so I think that there's, with James leaving, there's probably, I would like to, with my staff, have the discussion about, does it make sense for economic development to do Metro enhancement grants, right? Parks does a ton of events and permits, both applying for them and processing them, right? Could they do this a little bit? Could they be a little bit more helpful with, running the events, right? Could my department be the face of film permits, right? Run it out of the city manager's office, realizing we have the team here and it's really plug and play. Who do we need from a staff component, depending on what the application is. Every staff member at this table is not always going to be involved with every permit because none of these permits are exactly the same, right? There's uniqueness, there's size, there's duration, there's location, there's impacts, just a plethora of uniqueness to every one of these, which is why having this dedicated team who's the ones who work on it, but then we know who to go to. We need parks, we need public works, we need PD, right? Or maybe it's a little event at EOT and it's strictly parks, doesn't require anything else. So I just want to be open about, I think we've come a long way in how we process these. And obviously there's things we can always do better and change, but I think there's going to be a lot of changes both internally in how we administer things and who's responsible for them, but also trying to be, just wanting to be collaborative, and that's why they're here. If you have questions about how we do something or why we do something, these are the experts in the room that really help us get through that process. So anyway, that was just a long way of trying to set this up. What started with what seemed like two kind of questions that were brought forward that the commission wanted to talk about kind of grew over the last month or so. And so everything isn't in this staff report because we didn't really know, one, what kind of conversations you wanted to have, and two, what kind of detail you wanted, right? If this is more holistic, higher level, or if you really want to dive down into the details. So with that, I'm not sure
Well, I was going to—
how you want to move forward. We have, background information. I think, like I said, we're just really here to kind of help answer any questions and help facilitate the discussion of what you'd like to accomplish.
Well, I wanted to suggest that we split this up a little bit. We have gone through, at least I just numbered mine rather than the bullet points. So we have gone through the city-sponsored public event grant program. We did a revision to it. We made some changes. And as far as I'm aware from talking to the manager and others, that has worked fairly well. We simplified the process. We're probably about ready to go through it. Didn't you say round 2 was coming up? Or the first one, city-sponsored public event grant program.
Right, are you talking about we did the MEG grant?
No, I'm talking about this one,
Okay.
where the city has been,
Meg is the one, or, no, city-sponsored event, we broke into 2
right,
last year because
Right.
of the June 30th, July 1 funding.
right. It had to
Right.
do with the
Right.
fiscal year,
Right.
yeah. So no, I'm talking about this one in here.
Okay.
And that one, I thought we had gone through with staff and had looked at everything to make sure that it was working properly. So I don't know if anybody,
Right.
anybody has any comments about, because I think, obviously, having read through all of this, I think the 2 big issues are the special events, right-of-way permits, and road closures. I don't know if we have any issues with park rentals, because again, that's been pretty much handled. If you want to rent a park, you go, when I wanted to use Chapin, I went online, I filled out the form and paid my fee, and there was a reserve sign on it. I mean, it's pretty cut and dry if you want to reserve a park for a family event or whatever type of event. Film permits, I'm not aware that we've had any big issues. I mean, to me, filming is an economic development issue. I mean, my previous employer ran through that. We had a person that was part of their job is to be the film and production liaison person. So when they wanted to do any filming in Portland, that's who they went to. And of course, there were associate fees like we have, and they had different, people wanted different things. So I think, what was the last movie that we had here?
Oh, last movie.
I think it was the one that Jennifer Aniston was in, and they wanted something down by the 505 Tavern and all of that. And
Yeah, but we've had filming in the last year.
yeah, I mean,
TV shows.
summer,
Yeah.
yeah. So then there was a couple, there was the, what was it? Something Crazy was in the title, but anyway, yeah. And the notification, I have personally received a notification on my door about filming in the neighborhood, and it was timely. They are required to go around and do that and let people know. And of course, everybody in the neighborhood wanted to come out and see what they were doing. So that was kind of fun.
And how many, do you recall, what did we have, like 4 or 5 film applications?
Yeah, we had 3 or 6.
Yeah.
Between 3 and 6.
It seemed like when Grimm was here, we had
Yeah.
quite a few.
Oh, yes.
There was
Yeah.
a lot
Yeah.
happening.
Wow,
It's
we
kind
did.
of slowed down a little bit, but there was a lot of work that went into kind of the neighbor notification, right? The impact, if we had a closure of street, like I feel like a lot of the concerns were addressed, and I mean, I don't hear a lot of complaints when we do a film permit from neighbors or impacted community members or businesses. We have some of those notification processes built into that process to try to get out there
And film
in front of it.
permits, and film permits came to economic development because of tourism.
Yes, it's tourism and economic development.
Yeah, and since tourism is now in the hands of the DMO, that's a different situation.
Yeah, well, they don't control our streets. I would not
Oh, well,
give that to them.
That's
Right.
Right, and I think,
In my
That was
opinion,
the
it
main-
needs to stay with the city.
and what's interesting is some of these, right, you could have a city-sponsored public event that requires a park rental
Sure.
and a street closure, right?
Yes, that's true.
You could have a
Well,
city-sponsored.
that's been the concern for me
Right.
is people don't know which department to go to for various things. And so there should be an easy way for anyone to go on the website and be able to go through that process that connects them all. And I think the departments work better than they used to together. But it
Yeah,
used to
there's-
be that you would get different answers from different departments and different things from
I don't
different
think that's-
departments. Well, I don't know, I haven't been through the process, but I
Right.
will plan an event just to do it because I would like to experience it, because it's never been a good experience.
Well, I asked Linda Orson before she left. She did the last Three Rivers.
Well, and I was still hearing complaints from them and other events as recently as a year or two ago. So
Yeah,
I think it's really about how the departments work together and how someone that knows nothing about how to do an event goes to the website and goes through that system. And so you know, that, and the only reason I brought up the film permit is because of this discussion about, you know, are we going to have the commission deciding every time we close a street?
Right.
Well, I hope not.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of other reasons to close streets, you know, films and all these other events. So I think there is a middle ground between, you know, what we're doing now and having the commission do approve every little thing, but.
And I think it's interesting, like, because the commission did have a goal about increasing community events, right? And then you have this concern about the impact of closing Main Street, right? Like, is one event a month appropriate, right?
Well, let's wait.
You know,
So
I
let's
mean-
figure out which thing we really
Sure.
want to tackle, because, go ahead, Adam.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with you about the main ones being the right-of-way and the road closure permits, but when you talked about how we had gone through and refined the city-sponsored public event grant program, I'm not remembering, and maybe we have, but I'm not remembering when we sat down and discussed, because I know that we talked about metro enhancement, and I know we talked about the urban renewal for forgivable loan one, but I'm not recalling having had to sit down about this.
Well, that's what I was alluding to earlier. The city commission sat down, along with the mayor committee, sat down and discussed the enhancement grant.
Right.
We didn't sit down and talk about city-sponsored.
That's what I
We
thought.
split it out. Remember when you were asking about the MEG, I said, well, we talked about that, but what we did with the city-sponsored, we decided on, hang on, let me get to it. I wrote little notes on my sheet here.
Because we did have a round one and round two, but that was
Right.
because of a financial
Right.
situation.
Yeah, we talked a lot about, one of the big issues we talked about was the insurance, and that's now in here. Yeah, we talked about if they were a nonprofit or not a nonprofit, and that was an issue Rocky brought up, making sure we had, that was separated out.
Well, that was early in the process.
Yes, it was very early in the process. And we further emphasized, I see you put these in bold, we talked about what the city-sponsored event would need to do, so show support for the tourism brand,
Right.
having multiple vendors for the thing, and then we talked about what they might need.
Yeah, so those items came up when we actually introduced the program.
Right.
And we went through it and agreed that everything was going to be workable.
Right.
But again, because of the fiscal year issue, we split that out, because the concern, Rocky, you brought was, what about, we want to have, an application in June, and then the end of fiscal year is June 30, and the event is not until the fall. That's why we made this, that's why we did the split.
I don't recall, though, us actually talking about the process itself.
It was definitely before you were on the
Yeah, it was
commission.
before.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
That's what I was saying. I was reading this and I said, oh, well, okay, we kind of talked
It was
talked about that.
several years ago.
Yeah.
But Commissioner Smith, I think you and the mayor, because remember we were trying to move it onto an online.
Yes.
That had to have been 4 years ago.
It's been a while.
And then we have the process of awarding, the funding.
Right, I think that was different though, but I think the last time we kind of looked at the grant process, it's been probably 4 or 5 years.
Okay. So I wouldn't necessarily, because of that, I wouldn't necessarily say that we've crossed that one off, because we did recently have in-depth meetings focused specifically on other grant programs,
Yeah.
just not this one.
Yeah. So I think, as Rocky was saying, I think I don't think any of us has the desire to get into a popularity contest for events. And that's why I was hoping we would keep it up at a policy level so that we can give staff direction on where to go with this. I just, I can see a scenario where somebody says, oh, well, I really want to have, and they start coming to all of us and talking about their event. I think that given the tradition of what the community is anticipating in terms of the big events that we have worked on continually for years, for instance, First City, that is definitely an expectation of the community. everybody generally knows when it is except new people, but, you know, we can educate them. I think too, in a couple of the others that have, you know, Christmas tree lighting. That is, I don't even know, Rocky, how long has we've been doing tree lighting for like forever? More than 20 years at least.
Yeah.
So that's an expectation. And that street closure, you know, is towards the late evening. And then it's, you know, it's over. It's not like it's all day long. I don't want to dismiss the concerns of the downtown. I tend to agree that there needs to be a great deal of predictability, and I don't think that everybody that comes to the city has the right to close a street, particularly Main Street. I think that the homecoming parade, again, that's a short duration. We advertise, we know. What I get concerned about is the number and the amount of city resources that we do put in that people don't seem to recognize when Main Street is closed. There's the coordination. It's not like it's just us. I mean, we have to notify ODOT because we've got stuff happening that people are going through. But I think that we can navigate our way to an appropriate proposal for staff to come back with some more details. Honestly, in thinking about this, I can think of 3 signature events that I would say, and I'm hoping I'm not going to offend anybody, and maybe they will be, that these are the ones that are going to close the street. If you want to have a car show, you could possibly have it at the end of the Oregon Trail Center. You could have it at Clackamas Park that doesn't involve closing a street. The last time we had a car show, it did not close any street. I think that was very welcome. People did come downtown. I think that there are many other events that could use other facilities in our city that does not require closing Main Street. First City, yes. Tree lighting, yes. Halloween, yes. Beyond that,
Antique.
well, I don't know about that.
So when
But
we
that-
think
those are
about
the-
it.
those are the
we-
4
we
traditional ones.
typically have,
Yeah.
right.
But again, the antique fair could be at the Trail Center. You know, it doesn't have to be on Main Street. So, I mean, I'm just throwing it out, so.
The mayor shouldn't be dictating where
No,
events go.
I was just trying to think of other
Especially events
options.
that have been on Main Street
I
forever.
understand that. I was just trying to think of alternatives because it's not as much stress and other stuff going on if you were at Clackamas Park or if you were here or you were there, other places. So I'm, like I said, it's just for on, you know, just because I was thinking about it. Where, if we didn't have it there, where could it be?
Well, the antique fair has been in both locations.
Yes, it has.
And the reason it moves back and forth is because it was either difficult to deal with parks or it was difficult to deal with the street closures. And that's the reason most of the events have moved, based on how the city deals with them. So, you know, that's why this is such a huge topic. And
It's huge.
and I know we don't need to get into every detail
No,
of
we
it,
don't.
but the other big topic, I think, that goes to what you were talking about that is been mentioned, but we've never tackled it before. We've been trying to deal with this within the structure that we have. And then maybe that's the way we do it in terms of the structure of the city the way it is now. The question is, do we do it different in the future? And do we, and this has been a conversation, you know, going far back to other grants and other programs. And that is, if the community thinks that, and this is what got to the sponsorship, event sponsorship, city-sponsored programs. I'll mismatch the words that we call them because we've changed the names so many times. But in general, the question that has been back and forth for many years is, if the community as a whole is telling us that special events are one of the priorities in this town, then why is it not in our budget? Then why is it not in our budget to deal with the street closures and deal with all these other things? Why is it not something that we say, and that's where the sponsorship conversation came in, is if we know that the community wants special events, and the issue is street closures, and the issue is park rentals, and all the other fees that the city is doing, then why isn't that in our budget so that the departments don't have to say, that's not our job to do, close the streets, that's not our job to do this. Make it their job. And figure out how that, and that's kind of where that conversation came from. We're not fully there yet, and I don't know if we want to be fully there, but and obviously you can't cover every single event in the city under a city budget, but you can say, these are the big ones, but that's kind of hard too, because you are picking and choosing the ones in favor, and sometimes the big ones don't survive. And then someone comes in and you say, well, that one was grandfathered, because we still have events that are sort of grandfathered in this town that we've had that do their own thing. And so when you have a new event saying, oh, well, the new events have to follow this structure, that's complicated too. Because everyone knows once their event has given something up, then that's the new norm. And people don't like to do that, don't like to go under the new norm when everyone else has followed this one. So I think that's what makes it complicated. I think we were making progress, I think, getting there to some degree with the sponsorship of events and with the coordination of the departments and all of that.
Wasn't it also, we were talking about predictability?
In terms of?
The city-sponsored events have been the ones that have,
right,
that are signature events that have been going on.
Well, and I don't know if we ever, I
don't think
we talked about whether we would come up with a criteria of what that meant. It's been going on for 20 years.
Well, I meant predictably in terms of the public, not in terms, the public anticipates that we're going to have a First City Festival in July.
Right, I guess, yeah.
And I think, for us, right, it was like, we do concerts in the park, we do movies in the park, we added the 4th of July event,
right.
We added the Fall Festival where we close up by the library there, we added Juneteenth, we just did the spring event. So, those were like events that we have budgeted for, staffed, put on, right? There may have been a time when the city did First City, so it was before me, I think.
Yes, it was. We did do it for 5 years.
And then it's always been an outside agency, right?
But see, that complicates it too, because there's been years in the past where the city did a harvest festival and then they didn't, and then downtown did it. So when the city takes on new events and then 2 years later with a new staff person fails at that event, then someone else has to step up and do it. And so there is this constant change that happens. And so it's hard to be consistent in that when those goalposts are moving constantly.
Right, but I do think, hiring staff, you could maybe talk a little bit about staff we've hired, but then, it has been a priority of this commission. And with that priority becomes the staffing help to do that and the funding help to do that, which I think traditionally wasn't always the case. It was, we'd kind of like this and go make it work, whereas now, we're actually dedicating someone who deals with events at the city, which is something we never really had.
And also you have, for instance, in terms of longevity, First City Celebration will be coming up on its 15th year.
No, it's older than that.
I'm talking about in terms of, it probably is older, but you're making my point.
It's recent entry, yeah.
But you're making my point. It's been around for a long time.
We started it, the city started it right after the sesquicentennial.
Yeah, the first one was 90s, 94, 95.
Yeah, because I told Juliana, she asked me how many years.
93.
I told her I think we're up on to 30.
And then you've got the Oregon City Festival of the Arts. That's another older one.
Yeah, not as old as First City.
Yes, but it's still an older one. So you've got at least those two that have been.
Well, Antique Fair's up there too in 20 plus years or more.
You've got a third one there. So you're recognizing that, you're recognizing what is the case. But it's important.
Teddy Bear Parade's up there 20 years too.
Which one?
20, 30
Teddy Bear
years.
Parade.
So you recognized already 3 or 4 already. So there, in the future, in the distant future, there are going to be changes all.
Sure,
But
sure,
as it
but there's
exists,
constants, yeah.
but as it exists right now, we know who they are.
Right.
I want to recognize Michael.
Thank you.
Thanks for the hand, because I don't know if I could see the little hand, the little yellow hand, but I saw your real hand.
I can't find the little yellow hand.
That's
Zoom
okay.
looks
I saw your
different every
real
time I
hand,
get
so
on
thank
it,
you.
it seems like. Okay, but we'll use the real one. Just some thoughts. I really like the idea that Mr. Conkle brought right up the bat, that maybe the whole process, whatever the event, starts with the city manager's office, because there is, event to event, there is a difference in what city departments need to be involved, and we don't want to chase people to the police department if the police department isn't involved in that one. So I like that idea. There's a million details here, but a couple of things that I know, in my mind anyway. In terms of street closures, Main Street is different. It's
I agree.
by far the most dense concentration of businesses that are affected the most when the street is closed. And the other thing about our Main Street, as opposed to pretty much any other Main Street in the state of in cities of our size, whether it's McMinnville or Ashland or Hood River or the Dalles, they have parallel streets a block away and 2 blocks away that people can use to access and park. And we don't have that. We've got 99E and the river on one side and train tracks and the bluff on the other. So when we shut down Main Street, we really shut down access to Main Street businesses. And that's something we have to be aware of. We know our businesses are trying to figure out how to deal with, without that courthouse traffic. So the other thing, I don't think any of us, at least in my mind, we're not talking about a situation where the city commission would have to approve every street closure.
Thank you.
But I think there could be a tiering system where, if it goes over a certain number of hours or days, Main Street, again, I think needs to be handled differently. But the vast majority of those can be administrative decisions. But there are some, there are some that I think the impact is so great that it does need the commission involvement. And the other thing, I appreciate the fact that staff increased the notification from 5 days to 10 days, but that's still not nearly enough. If you're running a small business, you're probably doing your staffing at least 2 weeks out, maybe 3 or 4 weeks out, so people can predict, ordering food, ordering whatever it is you sell. I think most cities in their special event programs for street closures require 30 days notice, and there are several that require written acknowledgement from businesses in that section where the street's going to be closed, that they sign. They're not approving the closure, but they are signing that they're aware that the closure is going to happen. So I think we need to look long and hard at that 10 days and get it out much closer to 30 days. And that's just going to help our staff as well. We don't need our staff chasing around trying to figure out an event that's going to happen in 10 days' time. That's just not realistic. So, as they say, the devil's in the details, but those are just some broad things that I'm thinking about. And to Commissioner Smith's comment about fees for various things that the city, that fees to pay for various city resources, maybe that's an offshoot of the grant program where it's not a grant, cash grant, but maybe there is in the budget a certain amount set aside for forgiveness of those kind of fees without needing to know exactly what the particular event might be, but that there could be funding available to waive those fees as those smaller scale event comes along. So that's it for now. Thank you.
I appreciate that. I agree with you. Main Street is separate. I think all the other streets in town can probably be handled in a different manner. But Main Street, again, that's why I'm suggesting people do not have the right to close down a street. let's just get that right off the bat. It's a grant that the city gives. So I don't want people to make the assumption that, oh, I want to do X and I'm going to close the street. It's not given. It's not a given. So Main Street, again, as I suggested, limit it to the number of events that can happen down there, and then all the other streets be treated in a different manner. I don't know which street you were talking about. You said would have a great, I mean, nobody's ever closed down Lynn Avenue except when some environmental issue happened to it. That's when it got closed,
Parade.
but.
Homecoming parade.
Yeah, does it come down Lynn Avenue? Yeah.
Yeah,
But, again,
used to go down Malala.
I agree.
Before
agree.
the islands were put into Malala, they used to go down Malala.
Yeah, I remember that. But yeah, so I mean, it's, again, I don't think we need to do any sort of impact, and that's not really our deal. But Main Street, again, in my mind, is separate. And I think the traditional events that we have had there over the years that people have an expectation of, because I think they do, we could acknowledge those and say, those are the 3 closures or 4 closures that are going to have, and that's it. So if somebody wants to do something someplace else, that's going to involve a different type of process and program. I can't think of any other event besides this homecoming parade that outside of the core has closed a street down, other than filming. I mean,
Well, we've
when they were
done-
doing Bandits, they were down by the 505 and the Wheel Tavern, and they closed part of McLaughlin and Main Street because that's where they were filming.
Right.
We had the Oregon Trail Run. We had a triathlon one time. Like I said, some of these are really random.
Yeah,
right?
sometimes
Like,
they're a year.
That's like when we were talking about this, it's like, we know we've got First City Celebration. We know we've got the Antique Fair, right? We know we've got the Teddy Bear Parade. We know we've got the Christmas tree lighting.
Right.
Right? Those are our 4
Signature.
what was started as a signature event discussion that rolled into city-sponsored event grant funding, right? And then, I think that I really appreciate all the effort that went into around Halloween. If that work hadn't been done to control those intersections, we were having a discussion about closing Main Street because there was just too many people and kids jaywalking. I mean, it was just getting you couldn't control it, right? And so it was becoming a safety hazard from our administrative side of, oh my gosh, someone's going to get killed, right? Someone's going to get run over. So I appreciate all the effort that went into controlling those crosswalks, because I think the way it's been run diminishes the need to close it.
Exactly.
But there's so many people there, it has a similar effect, I would imagine, to closing Main Street.
Well, it's like traffic calming,
Yeah, yeah.
because they were going slow.
Yeah, but we still had, we did have a kid get hit. So I mean, it became, especially on a nice day, it's gotten huge, right? So it's like, do we just outright acknowledge those are the events that we're gonna close Main Street on? Anything other than that can go to Clackamas, it could go to EOT, or it could come to the commission and ask for approval. Or do we think those are too many? And we only want 2 events? I'll be honest. I think there is a lot of work that goes into that is like from the beginning of the event, the work that we do in trying to work with applicants. A lot has changed over 20 years, right? People driving trucks and running people over was not a big fear 20 years ago.
Right.
It is a real terrorist event threat. Right. So I know some of the things that we're asking seem onerous, but from a public safety and community safety standpoint, they are absolutely necessary, unfortunately, in this day and age. When we look at bringing police down there, First City Celebration, I remember the oh my gosh moment when Chief Band was here, and First City Celebration went late. They introduced beer garden and concert. We had 2 officers down there for 5,000 people. You want to know what would have happened? We would have gone up on the bluff and watched while we brought in reinforcements. It opened our eyes to introducing alcohol into these events means we need more law enforcement presence just in case, right? So I know people think it's like, oh, they're just making us do more. They're making us pay for more. There are real reasons behind why we make these asks. And so you know, we work with folks, we go out, we hood every one of those meters. If cars are there, we got to tow them, right? We help we bring down our traffic control gates. We work with ODOT on signage. We put up detour routes. You know, after the fact, we're doing cleanup, we're doing street sweeping. Like, there are a lot of things that we do we are not charging for, right? That we are making these events successful. Honestly, if we said no more street closures and we put them all in a park, it would be a lot easier and a lot cheaper for the city. But these are important events. and
Then we
these-
would have to design a park that could have events work.
Right? Yep.
They're not designed that way now.
They're definitely
never
not,
were designed
nor are the
that
master
way.
plans for the future parks.
Right. But neither was Main Street, right? I mean, just some of the constraints we have there are real. And Mike brought up, Commissioner Mitchell brought, like, it's hard when you got one real block.
Right.
You know, and we make it work. And so I think that's what we're kind of looking for, because there's nothing that any of us can really deny someone coming in and asking, because there's nothing that says we're only going to do one event per month, or these are the only events. So when someone comes in, you know, there's this little friction that's happening because we really don't have standards to say no.
So let me ask this question, just go around the table. Let's talk about just Main Street only. Do we have any consensus that we would like to limit the number of events that happen on Main Street, the ones that the community knows about, and that we would, well, let's just start with that question, because the second question would be, then we could divert other people to other areas that might be less of a safety concern and all that. I know I went to an event in another community, and they did not have the, what do you call they have a
I'm
specific.
not sure what the name of them are. Yeah.
They're just vehicle barriers.
Vehicle barriers. And that made me a little nervous, because somebody could have driven up on a sidewalk with a vehicle and gotten into the street where this event was happening. And it was one of the coastal towns. So what are your thoughts?
I'm not sure I'm ready to completely limit it unless there was, well, I guess
There's
I have
more
a hard
details
time-
to come. I'm just
Yeah.
saying generally.
I don't mind having some of that conversation. I think the concern I would have about limiting, if we're limiting it just on the events that exist today, that's by name. If those events change, then how do you adapt that? Does it mean one event drops and we have an opening for another event? It doesn't allow for a new event that comes to town that may be more beneficial to the city than events that are current. So I think there's some nuance
I'm just
there.
talking about a number.
Well, I guess I'm thinking, let's just say that we agreed that the events that are going on right there by name, we agree, right? Those are the ones. Someone comes in next week with this new idea.
Right.
We would say, well, you know, the commission has identified these events. You're a new event. You need to go make a presentation to the commission, and they'll decide whether they think it's appropriate for this event to close Main Street or not.
I don't have any problem
Right.
with that.
That's how we would
There has
add
to
up.
be some way,
Yeah.
process for that, because
Right.
as
You
we
wouldn't just
know.
say
I'm
no.
trying
we
not
have
to
these-
get into the weeds
No,
yet.
well,
So, but yes, that-
unfortunately, you have to
I
get
understand.
into the weeds, because that's the whole thing is weeds.
No, part of it is not weeds.
Well, it has been. So that's why we're trying to get to a point that it's not. So I'm just saying, we as a city also randomly create brand-new events on any whim, right? 4th of July or some
We're talking,
celebration.
I'm trying to hone it down to Main Street.
We don't know that 4th of July wouldn't be on Main Street in a future year with some other commissioner that wants to do it. I'm also saying we have anniversaries, the city's birthday or the elevator's birthday or whatever comes up on whatever given year, that we create an event and we go within a year's time from nothing to something. So we have to just be flexible about that kind
We
of
had
stuff.
our
And if
birthday
there is
party
a
at the
pro-
Trail Center in
Exactly.
August, because that's when the nice
But
weather
it doesn't
was.
have to be there, Denise. We have bridge closers on the bridge. We have all these things. So just because it happens in
once.
one, You can argue all you want.
I'm
It
not
doesn't
arguing.
defeat the point that I'm making, which is we have no consistency in what we do. And from one year to another, it's a different location, it's a different place, and sometimes it's the same event, sometimes it's not. So that has to be flexible to that, I think, because
As long as there's an option for somebody to come in and say, we have another event we would like you to consider.
But what it would do, it would give my staff the ability to say,
You need to talk.
here's the process to
Right.
get there, right? If the number or, back-to-back weekends is the concern, or, no more than, one a month, right? This at least gives my staff the ability to say, look, here's how you do an event. And by the way, because you want to close Main Street between April and September, you need to go to the, or whatever, year round. All right, you need to go to the city commission because they're the only one that can authorize a new event on Main Street. And if we knew we had whatever our next birthday is for the bridge, and we're going to close the bridge, right, we would come to the commission. I mean, we would treat them all the same for the one-offs. This is really trying to address either a new event or a one-off event.
It'll be 100 years from now.
I won't be here, thank goodness.
I don't think we will. We might be here in spirit. So if I agree with you, there's a process by which you can get an exception. There's always should be a process to get an exception. What I don't like, and I will just be honest, I don't think we should have back-to-back event closures. I think that is detrimental, not only to downtown, but it's detrimental to the community. It puts too much of an onus on everybody else except for the person that's doing the event. And so I have a concern about that. There should never be back-to-back event closures.
What does that mean? Like from one weekend to the next weekend,
Yeah,
or
like-
month to month?
Like the last week in April, and then the next weekend is the Teddy Bear Parade. That's 2 back-to-back weekends. That's not fair to anybody. And it's not an event that we normally would have had at that time of year. I mean, I don't mean to pick on them, but that's what precipitated a bunch of this conversation.
April?
There's an antique fair scheduled for the end of April, and the next weekend is the Teddy Bear Parade.
But I think the Teddy Bear Parade stays on Washington now, doesn't it? It goes down Washington to EOT, or is it hitting Maine? Is it starting on Maine?
It starts
I
on Maine,
think
it's
it's
10th
still
and
on
Maine.
Maine.
Starts at 10th and Maine and goes to Clackamas Park.
Oh, sorry, I thought we moved it to EOT. I'm
Yeah.
confusing it. And that, like I said, there are details here, right? So if this is something the commission, wherever we end up here, we start to write a policy that the commission can consider, right? We used to have kind of what I'd call the downtown core, right? Which was kind of 10th to 5th, right? Which is where, a lot of impact happens. A lot of the dense businesses are, would something that happens 10th to 15th count as closing Main Street? There's just some things we're gonna have to clarify if we do this, but.
So with the bus park mall there, I don't know how that's gonna ever work, but. Michael, can I call on you?
Yeah, I can, as long, there needs to be a set list, a small list of those events that, our community and that the community expects to see, like we've been talking about. And I can agree that there needs to be an exception process for new events, but I think that, in my mind, must be approved by the commission. Is that what you were asking?
Yes, and that's what I was suggesting.
Right.
Chairman?
So I don't like the idea of a set number, right? But I do see the city commission serving in more of like a gatekeeping function where we take into consideration public benefit and impact on businesses. Because for me personally, those are the two things that I'm considering if we're looking at closing, our Main Street downtown. So that would be kind of my thought, because every event starts from somewhere. Every single event has an inaugural, implementation, and I think that There could be some very fantastic, well-planned events where maybe it makes sense, yeah, this is a new event and it should go downtown. We should consider closing the street. So that's where I would say the commission serves again as more of that gatekeeping, kind of vetting the event to see if it's appropriate to close the downtown. But in general, I think this is a complicated topic with a lot of pieces. And I will say just in the conversation today, we've been bouncing a lot between different from topic to topic to topic, and I don't feel like we've made a lot of substantial, really progress in any meaningful way. And I would very much appreciate revisiting this in a structured format where we can really walk through it, because I think that's where we would actually make meaningful progress in the discussion of this topic. And again, the impact we have, and the impact they have on our downtown and on the city.
I tend to agree with Commissioner Smith. I understand the intent of naming out the ones that we're currently doing and saying these are just the ones that we're doing, but I share the concerns over the lack of adaptability that we would then have. Of course, without coming to the commission, but I also don't think that, I don't know, I think that leaves a little bit too much up to the discretion of the commission. So I don't know where I am yet, but I do think that regardless of where we end up, there should be some sort of appeals process to us. That's the one thing that I've taken a note on that I would like to see, is that similar to certain decisions in the planning department where there are staff decisions that can be appealed to the commission, maybe there's a way to be reflective of that in whatever procedure that we decide, but I don't know yet, or at least I haven't decided on where I think that threshold should be.
I'd love to revisit that, because I don't know that we currently deny too many applications unless they don't meet basic insurance requirements or something, right? And so I think it would be,
I know, but if we were to go
of,
with a set number of events, then obviously there would have to be some way for something to make its way to the commission.
and that's where the application like if we had a policy that said First City Antique, Teddy Bear, Halloween, Christmas are going to be the main downtown events. I come in and I want to do my woodworking event and I want to close Main Street in July, and my staff will go, well, okay, sounds like a great event. Here's the right-of-way permit. Our commission has any new events that close Main Street on the blocks you've proposed need to go in front of them to be approved. That would be the appeal, I guess. I mean, we'd be implementing whatever the policy is or the code change that we make that would then have a process for new events to come to the commission for approval.
It's not necessarily
Right,
an
and if the
appeal.
new code requirements that we enacted were in effect to deny another event, then it would be appealed to us.
Well, I wouldn't say it's an
Or there would be
appeal.
a process to do
A process, that's what, it's not really an appeal, it's saying, these are sorry if I'm using the word, so these are the events. If you want to have one that's outside of this, you can go to the commission and you can talk to them about that. It's not really denying it, it's saying, you have a way to say,
To go make your case.
Right.
And I do want to interject here.
Sure.
There is no code on special events. It's all implementation of code authorizing the city to issue right-of-way permits and the authority to do so. But there's nothing in code that actually talks about special events. So it's always been in how do we
Yes,
implement.
it's a right-of-way. I mean, if you're
It's a
using the
right-of-way.
right-of-way, it doesn't matter whether it's a special event or you're.
Right, so the
fixing
reason I'm bringing this up is because we are currently talking about restricting that process. Yeah.
Great.
So that's the reason why I'm bringing this up.
Right. And I mean, that conversation could be, oh, by the way, you could go have your event at Clackamas Park. If you want that date, you want that event, you don't want to go to the commission and make a case to close Main Street, here's the other places you could do it.
Right, there should always be an option.
You could use Clackamas, you could use EOT, we would work to see if the dates are available, right? I mean, it helps us provide guidance for what someone is asking to do, how to get there, and what their limitations are. Because I agree, we could codify it, I suppose, right? I mean, it depends where this conversation goes. so I guess more structured conversation around kind of what we're talking about here? Or?
I think kind of all of it. So not only what would we allow downtown, like Main Street, to be closed for, but we're talking about notification periods, we're talking about city-sponsored or not, we're talking about the costs to the city. Like, I think all of it really should be discussed in a structured way of, saying, okay, what is our process? So that way there is a process that people can apply to and, to Adam's point, appeal to, right? So where it can be reviewed and looked at, like, not all events should be able to close down Main Street. I absolutely agree with that, but there has to be a process, because I'm not comfortable saying only these ones.
Well, like I said, I was only suggesting these ones, and here's your avenue to ask for something else. I always want
Right.
to not preclude somebody from being able to ask for an additional event.
Part of that conversation is why I brought up the film permits, because if we're saying Main Street is different, we have to also understand that that's where the filming happens.
Some of it.
Okay, 50-60%, but also the other places that filming happens are no longer filming locations. The Mill and, the high school to some degree still is.
Yes.
But we have the Carnegie,
Yeah, my
blocks.
neighborhood- our neighborhood is a filming
We all know
location.
there's 4 or 5 filming locations in Oregon, and that's the argument has always been. It's always the same street, it's always the same street. So if Main Street is the exception, then every one of those filming projects that's on Main Street has to go through that funnel that we're saying all these other events go through. So that's part of how we figure that out too. It's broader than just saying events with that on Main Street.
I have a question.
Please.
So I know that we went from the 5 days to the 10 days. What were we doing prior to the 5? Because my recollection is that we reduced it to the 5 in order to, when we were looking at streamlining the process. Do we know what it was prior to the 5?
So all I can say is for special events that close the road, since my tenure, 2018 till now, it's just always has been 5. It was just, I inherited it. That's what had been done. So I don't know what happened prior to 18. But then within the past 6 months or so, we were given direction due to the public comment to extend it from 5 to 10. The concern that I can share with you that happens with that notification, or we do a notification that goes to 911, fire, police, trash, school district, TriMet, all of those service industries. It's the requirement of the applicant to notify any properties of what they're doing and how they're doing it and when they're doing it. So that currently is on them. And for us, it's a checkbox to saying, are you doing it? But there's no proof that they've done it. To extend it to 10, or as Commissioner Mitchell said, 21 or 30, the challenge that will occur is the applicants are going to have to start their planning process earlier than they currently do, because we have many special events that, there's like 5 events right now in the queue that are coming up over the next 4 or 5 months. 4 of them are in the application process and trickling their stuff in, and it takes them 3, 4, 5 months to trickle all their stuff in. And quite often at the last minute, even sometimes on the last day, they get their final permit. So we kind of work with them and give the notice thinking it's going to happen. We had one a couple years ago where they were trying to get their alcohol permit, and they got it on the Friday before the Saturday event. But we said, if you don't get it, then you're going to have to go dry, but we're going to do our notification the 5 days ahead of time. So there's a lot of last minute that occurs with special event planning. And it would just, the question that I would have for the commission is, if you change that from 10 to 21 or 30 or whatever, if they don't have their permit by that time, is the permit not happening then? Is the event not happening?
And I would hope that if we do that the commission backs us up, because I think we do try to be extremely accommodating to this trickle application submittal, right? We've never been like, if you don't have everything 10 days in advance, your application is denied and you are not putting your event in. We have bent over backwards.
Yeah.
So if we go to 30, right, like, we'll work with folks, but just realize there's going to be complaints.
So the reason why I asked that question is because I'm recalling a conversation that we had about the time limit, because I thought that at some point the timeline was shorter because there were some sort of complaints about, well, we just changed it and now we're making it longer.
It was never
doing
shorter
the
than
opposite.
time.
Okay.
I think it was more of just trying to be more accommodating in supporting events going on. And I think it was this accepting insurance liability waivers like at the last minute, right? Or plans that come in that we have to kind of help get to an acceptable place, right? I mean, so I think it's been more accommodating to applications that come in that could use a little work. Trying to think if we changed any timing requirements.
I think they should be required to prove to us that they've notified people. I mean, the ones that you had for the filming, the city has a specific form, and again, it has to be on people's doors. And I know like I said, in the past, there is somebody specifically that's been on each of these film crews that put them on people's doors. It's particularly if it's in a residential area. Now, if it's in a business area, they should be required to take it there or mail it or whatever they do. And we need to know that they did it.
Yeah.
I don't,
And I would say the vast majority of people are notifying people. There was a little hiccup last year, from what I
Sure.
understand.
yes.
But staff does not enforce it. So we say you should do it, just like with the film permits, you should do it. We don't know that they actually did. And I'm actually not sure exactly how we would do that. I mean, yeah, signature of someone maybe, certified mail, that's really expensive.
Well, yeah. But I mean-
Yeah, it's.
And I mean,
that's a
in
tough-
dealing with the film industry, while there's other headaches associated with that, it's a for-profit business, right?
And I think-
It makes it a little bit easier, and a lot of these we're working with nonprofits trying to put an event on, right?
They're not doing it at the last minute either. They scout. I know some of them do. Yeah, I mean,
Filming is actually something shorter. It could be a few,
sometimes it
couple
is, but
weeks, yeah.
they start scouting,
Right,
early.
but weather or different things.
I don't know the answer to your question of the stuff dribbling in, because the cynical part of me says, hey, if you don't submit what you're supposed to, you want to do this, and there's requirements. If you don't get your stuff in, it's okay if there's like one or two things, but the way your guys are telling us, well, they file for the application, then they turn this in, and then they turn that in, and then they turn this. I mean, if they wait till the last minute to get their OLCC stuff, they are not speedy people. I have done the OLCC process before. And if you get it in advance, they are very accommodating. If you do it at the last minute, OLCC is not very helpful, because they basically say, your emergency is not my emergency. Now, they've never said that, but that's been my understanding of how that works.
I would tell you that more often than not, that is what we experience. And that's why we try and accommodate them. Even so far as to go, about 2 years ago, we created template packets for all of the reoccurring events. And so we give it to them every year saying, has anything changed? Are you still doing the same layout? Is it still the same applicant?
Right.
And then we redo the stuff so they don't have to do it.
Right.
And then they just need to check off, yep, we're still doing that, and then get us a brand new COI because they expire.
Sure, they do.
But we've simplified it for them, the recurring events. The new events, or like block parties or things like that, they struggle the most because they've never done it, or like a couple years ago, Lions Club did Teddy Bear Parade for years, and now I forget who took it over, but someone took it over, and we had to reteach them the process, but they were really accommodating. They wanted to learn, so it was a great experience, but it took them time.
Go ahead, Patrick,
Thank you.
just pull that closer, it moves.
Just for example, so, I mean, it is very true. A lot of these events get
permitted days before the event. A lot of them are these annual events because they're nonprofits. It's not their job to do this. I have a almost full application for the upcoming antique fair. I haven't seen an application for the Teddy Bear Parade yet. So these are the things that happen. The 5K that came back last year, I spent a lot of time with those folks, just helping them understand the process. So,
Oregon City School District Foundation.
yeah, and I mean, it's great. It's a great event, but there are a lot of these little
There's
things
details.
that happen. A lot of events are advertised before they're permitted. So we run into that as well.
That's a problem.
Many times, notices, because I do ask for copies of the notice that they provide. Usually those notices are going out before I've issued a permit for that event because we want to get them out as soon as possible. So
So you are asking for
I ask for copies, absolutely.
of what they sent out, okay?
Correct. Sometimes they're social media posts, sometimes they're an actual letter, sometimes it's a door hanger.
Well, how does a social media event get to the people that are supposed to be notified?
Well, many of the notices and just for example, many of the notices I get from DOCA is from their website post. So it's not a specific notice that's mailed or handed.
I will tell you that most people don't look at that. The people on the street, business
I
owners.
would agree with you.
I spent time 2 weeks ago at a business and I said, by the way, hang on, Mike. I said, do you know that this, and this is happening? They don't look at they're not social media people. If I hadn't told them, they would not have known. Go ahead, Michael.
Well, I'll just, two things. There are other cities that require affected businesses to sign that they have been notified. Those other cities make it work. There's no reason we can't. And as to the last minute, I get it that people do things last minute, but we're not talking about a sequential process. They can be notifying people at any point in the process. They don't have to wait until they have everything else done and then, now we don't have 21 days or whatever it is to provide notification. Get that early. It isn't a sequential process.
I would agree.
I'm going to say it again. 10 days is not enough.
I do agree with Mike. I think for me, and I don't know how pervasive of an issue this is, I have concern that we have events that are not securing all their permits until maybe the day before the event.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we owe it to our downtown that if we're closing the street, that this is a thoughtful, well-planned out event because this has tremendous impact on them. And so I'm concerned.
I think it's anybody. It's not just downtown. Anybody that's planning an event, if they wait till the last minute, whoever's affected should get appropriate notice.
So I agree. I just, if going from 10 days to 30 is, I don't know what the right number is, but if that's this insurmountable, onerous task for the people put on the events, that to me, in my ignorance, and I've never planned an event, and Rocky, maybe you can give me some guidance here, but that feels like just poor planning.
When I was, how do I even say this? Sometimes that's the case. Sometimes the structure that they're going through to get the permit is the problem and causing the delays. I'm not saying that's the way it is now, but that's the way it was in this city for a long time. So I remember.
That's the past.
Well, I don't know that. I haven't, like I said, I'm going to plan an event when we get this done to see how it works because I'm ready to start doing another event in this town at some point and we'll put it to the test.
Adam.
I would support increasing however many we decide, 30 days or whatever, for Main Street specifically. I think for other areas, it doesn't need to be that much in advance. I think that 10 days is probably fine elsewhere across the city, but for Main Street specifically, and also, again, remembering that we're talking about events, at least right now, that are happening every year for decades. And so if it is a problem to get those notifications out 30 days in advance, then I agree with what Commissioner Wilson is saying, which is that maybe they need to look at how they're operating and do better for the businesses on Main Street. So I would agree with increasing that notification timeline for Main Street only. And I think in terms of proof, I don't know how, just given the personalities of different people, how easy it would be to get someone's signature if a business owner just doesn't want an event to happen. Like,
I would agree.
Like, you did just tell me this event is gonna happen, but I don't want it to happen, so I'm not gonna sign it so that you don't get your permit.
Well-
So I don't know if that's an effective way for us to prove the notification, but if there's some other way, then I'm open to that,
Well,
because I think it ought to be a part
don't
of
think it should solely
it.
be a social media post.
That's not what I'm saying.
No, I mean, I'm just saying it shouldn't be just that. That is not notification. Because again, I could name 5 business owners that I know of, not just Main Street. They're just not going to be looking at that.
Yes,
It's-
I just don't want us to be in a situation where one person has a veto.
No, it
over
should
the
not be a
entire
veto.
process.
I don't know if I feel comfortable with 30 days, but I would feel comfortable with somewhere between 15 and 20. At least 15 for.
Yeah, I would agree with that too.
Outside, 30 days, again, I don't disagree with your comment about if they can't get 30 days notice. We know that let's give you an example. So we know right now the date of the First City Festival. It's on the calendar. I think it's July 25th is what I want to say.
Right.
So 30 days ahead of that would be June 25th. Those are a given. What I'm worried about is the random person that decides, oh, it's now March, I want to do something in September, but they have no clue about how to do anything. They just have a great idea and they want to execute it.
Well, to that point, can I ask, how often do we have random events that want to close down Main Street?
Every film project.
Okay.
So
again,
that's
what
one
I'm saying.
example, and that's why it's an
Well, I
example
wouldn't
to me,
call a
but
film a random event, but
I mean,
it's not
it's not.
It's not routine and ordinary that we
Yeah.
have a film filming every day, but again, I've kind of put
no,
them in a
but
separate.
once or twice every couple of years, for sure. Yeah,
We
and
become the
that
hot
to me is
spot
random.
and they're gonna want to film and,
And again, there's a discernible impact.
but we have a
on our
notice
downtown.
requirement in that one with a piece of paper, that they have to file.
Right.
It's the other ones that we don't have any,
But what's the time requirement for, if somebody wants to film downtown and close the street, what's the notice they have to provide? How long?
I don't know.
I think it's in the packet. Let's see.
I thought it would be consistent with.
And that would be
And
my
that's why I
assumption, is it
think,
should-
that's why I think the 30 days is too much if you're accounting for all of those things. If it's two different timelines, then maybe
It's
that's a
confusing.
different conversation. But
I agree. I think that if we're closing Main Street, whatever the reason, there should be some consistency in that.
I'm just looking at the form.
And I'm not saying 30 days is the number. I'm curious what the businesses downtown feels an appropriate number. What is the notification requirement for filming?
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ann Griffin in the Economic Development Department, and we require that people give at least 7 days' notice for a film permit.
So if I wanted to close Main Street downtown and film, I could give 7 days' notice to the businesses down there.
What I'm referring to is notice specifically to residents, if you're going to be filming in the area.
Sure.
If it's a impact to Main Street, it's the same as any other impact. So if people are applying to close the right-of-way, they'd have to work with Public Works for that.
But I think your point is around the consistency. We've always treated these as two kind of different types of permits. One tends to be more of a commercial filming permit versus kind of this nonprofit event permit. We could certainly sync up the days and the noticing for consistency's sake. But like I said, we've
But I understand the
typically.
processes are different than.
They are, we've always
Right.
treated
No,
them
that's what I
differently.
mean. I just mean,
But this raises the Main Street
If we're talking
closure.
closing Main Street,
Right.
it doesn't matter to me what the purpose
Right.
of closing Main
All-
Street is. It's the same
All of a sudden, those
notification.
become same
Right.
based on this
I get the other-
conversation
right.
when we've typically treated them as two separate kind of permits. It's like a building permit, a land use permit, right?
Right.
They're different in nature.
Yeah.
Well, what about 2 weeks for notice for filming and a minimum of 2 weeks for, if you're closing Main Street. That at least if you are trying to schedule your staff, you have some notice.
So the purpose of notification for, again, I'm talking specifically about downtown
Sure.
Main Street, is for the businesses to be able to appropriately plan for the needs of their business, right? Staffing, inventory, parking, all of that. I want to be cautious myself, not being a business owner on Main Street. I don't want to set a number that I just think is correct for them. I would be very curious to hear from, DOCA, from the businesses. What do they feel is appropriate? What are their needs? What are their concerns? Because again, at the end of the day, they are the most impacted.
Well, let's give some direction to the city to start at a number and then put something together so we can come back with something structured. Mike wants 30. You're not.
No, Mike did.
Mike
I did not
suggested
say I wanted 30. I said 21 or 30, and that may be too long. I agree with Commissioner Wilson.
Can you just
have
repeat?
staff come
Sorry,
back
Mike, you blipped out for a minute. You said 21 to 30?
I suggested 30. I also said maybe it's 21. I don't know what the right number
Sorry,
is.
I just didn't quite hear you.
I agree with Commissioner Wilson. Staff can come back, leave it blank.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll have that discussion on a night when we're in a regular session and we can make a decision.
Yeah, I think that the concept is there. It's just then, specifics on a day or if there's going to be a drop dead date for things to be submitted or whatnot, we can fill those numbers in
And I
very
think
easily.
you
It's
heard
more
the-
the framework of a policy or a code change.
And I think we want something that says that they were notified. Not a social media post. I don't think that doesn't work.
And would our intent be that it be the same length as the film permit one then?
I would think so. I mean, sometimes they're there and they're in and out. I think when they were filming the Grimm stuff right around the library and the Unitarian Church, it was at night from 10 o'clock until like 2 in the morning. So, there weren't really, other than the crazy people like me who were standing out in the park watching the film.
Do we think that this, I hate having inconsistencies, but there are going to be inconsistencies in terms of the impact in different parts of the city, right? I've heard a concern really around Main Street.
Yeah, that's the biggest one.
Right, because could you imagine the difficulty of doing a notification of the parade? Are we going to make them get signatures for every house along the
I
parade
didn't
route?
say
for
signatures, we just,
Or notification, right? I mean, are we treating downtown differently than the rest of the city?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're okay with that?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
But not Malala
Well,
for a homecoming parade? I mean, you want to argue that Main Street is more than closing Malala Avenue?
The only, it's
you have
kind-
alternates
I-
to Malala.
Well,
One. We have one.
the question.
Right.
You guys can
Like
argue back all you want.
Lynn, we pushed, when we did down Lynn, we pushed everybody to Malala. If we close Malala, we'll push everybody to Lynn. Or
Well,
like,
yeah, but the parade goes down, so is that how they flip-flop it as it goes through?
I mean, when we think about, I think what Commissioner Mitchell brings up the good point, on Main Street, we just have such
We
limited
don't have anywhere
opportunities
for
for
people to go.
alternatives. Not that
99.
Lynn or Malala
Okay,
is great, but
have
it
you-
is an
I mean,
alternative.
When the parade's coming down Lynn and crosses Malala at the same time, you have there's nowhere to go. And that's the whole city,
Right.
right? I mean, that's.
But it's a
I'm just saying.
limited event in duration relative to a complete closure of the street for a day. Right? I mean, we probably have just as big an impact when we're doing the I&I stuff, right? Like, this is the complexity of the variability of these
Exactly.
things.
If I was marching, I'd want to go down the wall. It's more of a gradual rather than,
Oh, they'd go down Malala if
We're
the
gonna
city
start
would let
sending
them go
up
down
the hill, get
Malala.
them really tired.
oh, there you go. That's a good plan.
So I heard, so I guess I'm hearing that we work on creating some type of a framework. Now, whether that ends up being codified or a policy that focuses on downtown Main Street, identifies a discussion about the 5 kind of historic events that we've had there, a process for someone to come to the commission on an appeal or a new event or something If it's not one that we've identified, if it's related to a closure of Main Street, this would include filming permits in that area. So I could imagine us defining an area, right, where some of these stricter noticing and approval criteria are going to be relative to something that happens in a different part of the city. And we'll start putting that down on paper. We'll have to work on the noticing part, right? I think what I was trying to say is, we've tried to be very, very accommodating, right? As we put requirements in, you're probably going to get complaints that we're not being accommodating and supportive of community events. Because once we put it on paper that you shall do something by a certain date, if you don't means you can't do what you want to do, right? So it's going to be a little bit of an educational training, like, hey, we now have dates, like, you got to get on this, right? And I mean, we'll still work and be as accommodating as we can, but when you put end dates on things, that means some things might not make it, right? It's hard to have both a requirement and be flexible when they don't meet it. And so like the noticing part, right? Like if we say you got to send certified mail, right? So there's a $2 per business that's going to get certified mail, right? Or, walking around and getting a signature from only willing businesses, right? There's just some things we got to think about here in terms of how and to what extent are we verifying versus, you hope we're working with a good partner who's going to do the right thing.
I know that one of the public works projects that we were getting some concerns about, they weren't getting notice. The person that was delivering the notice took a picture that they left it on the house and turned it in. I know that's what that person did. I'm not saying that's what we require. I'm just saying that was somebody being creative, saying, how am I going to notify the city that I actually did this? Well, here it is, but yeah, so just maybe create a framework. So let's move on. We got a couple more things we got to discuss.
I guess, did I miss anything? Did that seem like a reasonable place to start?
Oh, and no back-to-back weekends. That's just unfair to everybody. If we had a festival street that we were closing down, there's a couple of places in Portland that's a festival street we don't have that and we will never have that. That's just not reasonable. Bless you. Okay. Thank you, Ann. And I don't know if any of you were here when they were doing Bandits, but one of the main actors in the movie, I don't know if he had just lots of money in his pocket, but he went up and down Main Street and he was buying drinks for everybody and going to every business and throw down some cash, which was Billy Bob Thornton.
Yeah.
And it was, people were talking about that for weeks after that. He started at the end and came up to 10th and he was just buying everything.
Yeah, there was 4 big celebrities in town that weekend.
Well, it was Bruce Willis, Billy Bob Thornton.
Demi Moore and...
no, Demi Moore was not in Bandits.
She wasn't in it, but she was dating Bruce Willis and she was
Bruce,
downtown.
Yes. And then Kate Blanchett.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
They were quite the celebrities in town.
Angelina Jolie was dating Billy Bob Thornton. She was downtown Oregon City too the same weekend.
And then I did see a sighting of Jennifer Aniston. She was down there somewhere. All right, Thimble Creek. I got it right, Michael.
Well, as you know, if you recall back in spring of 2025, the Oregon City Commission adopted a resolution, the Thimble Creek Industrial Land Readiness Strategic Plan, and appointed 2 of your colleagues, the mayor as well as Commissioner Wilson.
Mitchell.
Mitchell. Mitchell. It was Mitchell. Mitchell. So therefore, they were charged with keeping the commission informed and also looking at being familiar with the impediments to the area. So with that said, I'm going to turn it over to, before I get to that, we had a meeting with officials of the community college, the president and the CFO, about the property they had recently purchased. And so I'm going to turn it over to our two commissioner champions to discuss what they heard and what was agreed to.
Commissioner Mitchell, will you please take the lead on this as we discussed?
Okay.
Thank you.
I was very encouraged by the meeting. I guess just to the 5,000-foot view, I can give you 2 bits of bad news and 2 bits of good news. The bad news, 2 things, are the same as we've known all along. The 2 big challenges with that property is a tremendous number of property owners, different property owners, all of whom are in a different readiness, I guess you could say, in terms of wanting to sell the property. And probably all of them thinking their property is worth more than it really is. But getting a critical mass of property owners together wanting to sell, to be able to move anything of any size forward, that's going to be a big challenge. And the other big challenge that's kind of related to the first one is the fact that there's no infrastructure there in terms of streets, or I think the sewer line maybe touches Beaver Creek Road in front of there.
Yes.
But in terms of getting interior on the site, obviously there's nothing there. So those are going to be the 2 big challenges. But the good news is, I think the college is very open. They have not planned what they're going to do with that property. And they are, honestly, it sounds like they're quite a ways out from really planning what they're going to do with it, other than there is a restriction because it was purchased with bond funds. It does have to be for an educational purpose. But generally speaking, they were very receptive to a wide number of possibilities. And also, everyone at the table, I think, was very desirous in realizing that the best way that this is going to move forward is if it's a partnership between the city and the college and the school district and private enterprise as well, to really do something different there. Because, I mean, it's, when you think about that property and the direction that Clackamas Community College is taking and the areas that they're emphasizing, things like the Holden Industrial Center that they have and the new agriculture center that they're going to build, so kind of those hands-on employment-related fields of study. And then right across the street is campus industrial property, where a light manufacturer could come in on one side of the street and literally have interns or trainees or hired individuals coming from the community college that's right across the street. And I think there's very few places in the state of Oregon where there's that kind of adjacency between an educational institution like a community college and available industrial land right across the street. So it's a heck of a selling point. There's those, big obstacles to get over in terms of owners and infrastructure. But I left the meeting feeling very positive about the fact that everyone wants to work together and recognizes the unique opportunity that could be done there. It's not going to happen quick, but hopefully there's something, you get a property owner or 2 with enough property, get a small win, as Commissioner O'Donnell was always fond of saying, that we get a small victory and prove what can happen. And then, then the dominoes start to fall after that. But I think hits the high spots. And I think it, as I said, all in all, I think it was a very positive meeting. Everybody wants to pull together on this.
Yeah, I would just concur with what he said. I think that we have a real opportunity through economic development to develop I guess what I would call a potential fact sheet that does exactly what we were talking about, is that here's the potential at the college. And then either bring in brokers that could help us find a business that could benefit from that internship synergy between the school and what they are looking at. And then they sort of kind of happen together. You know, it might give the college an incentive to move a little quicker to what they are wanting to promote. And it would help us look for the right types of businesses to recruit for that particular project. So I think, again, even though it might be a little bit ahead of it, it gives some indication of where we want to try to go with it. So but the correction, Mike, not the correction, but Mike is correct that this has been ongoing for a long time, and I don't mean to be morbid about it, but you know, many of those property owners are aging out and their children are coming in and they want to sell. But I think, again, strategically, if there's a way to work off the synergy of the agricultural center and what it can bring, and then find a like business that could benefit from that, it helps bring those two things together, and that could be a real, you know, win-win. It doesn't have to be a big business. It could be something that's small, and go from there. Because I think it's only going to take one before the dominoes start to fall. We do have unfortunately, some property owners, as Michael stated, that think their property is worth a whole lot. We also have some challenges because there's a BPA power line that runs through part of the property, also with the college's portion as well. So that limits it. The natural resource stuff is a little further south of there, so it doesn't affect this area as much. But there is some of Thimble Creek that does run through there. But again, you look at the synergy of how that could be incorporated into a campus setting. And several years ago, before Tony's time, when we were talking about redeveloping 320 Warner Milne Road, we were going to incorporate as a water resource issue the little stream that runs back behind our old building, and there's like amphibians and all sorts of salamanders and stuff in there. And we were going to incorporate in that as a demonstration project with clean storm drainage water coming into it and water going out. So there's opportunities like that, I think, that could move forward. So we'll have to work on the next economic development person who's going to come in and tell them they have to do this now. Any questions?
And because it's an education bond, as you mentioned before, a bond council will have some input as to what's eligible.
Right.
Based on that. But one of the most important things that came out of the meeting really was that there would be a technical working group of people who would be actually moving this, actually not studying it, but actually moving it forward. And that could include a site selector or certainly a planner, a market feasibility analyst, a financial analyst. From time to time, bond counsel would pay a visit because bond counsel is expensive, and other kinds of professionals are part of it. But all in all, a public-private between the community college and the city, basically being established as a framework going forward. And that was a big move. The college was open to looking at different types of uses for the property. And bond counsel will be important to chime in to say whether or not that was an eligible use.
So we've only used the bond counsel sparingly because,
yes,
like you said, they are very, very, very expensive. But worth their weight in salt.
But there's not. But as I said, there were a lot of ideas around the table, and and certainly I thank all those who are around the table, including Christina Robinson Gardner and Ann Griffin and Jeff Schaefer and the president of Tim Cook. All of us were around the table trying to make sure that whatever we do, we put something together that will move this initiative forward, because we have studied it for quite a while.
Yep, it's time to move. Okay. You're up. Well, we could slow down if you want, Thank you, Mike. That was great overview.
So just real quick, in addition to the technical group that you talked about, what's next for our commission liaisons?
The next thing would be with the college has agreed and ECDev has agreed to work to identify individuals that be working on that technical group and sort of agreeing specifically what that group would be doing in order to move the agenda.
Thank you. So should we say lots of good things about him since this is going to be his last commission meeting?
I thought we were going to do a roast.
Oh, wait a minute.
You would say that.
Hang on, I've got my notes here.
But
I always have to harass my friend. I'm going to miss him.
Yes.
But thank you. I just want to say thank you for the opportunity to serve you. It's been a privilege, and we've done a lot of work, a lot of new and interesting things, but this was an experience that I think that deserves to be recognized by everyone around the table, because we've been working pretty hard on economic development for this city. And it's a challenge, but we've got so many opportunities in this community. It's beyond belief. We have a beautiful waterfall. It's just down the street. We've got so many things, and we've got some talented people. So I leave knowing that everything will be all right. You'll take your next steps to forward this the economic development agenda, and I think Oregon City has existed for a long time, and it will exist for another long period of time. So thank you for the opportunity to serve you.
We'll go around the table.
I wish you luck in wherever you go from here, and I've enjoyed getting to know you on a personal level and talking about some of the things about the city, and I feel like we have made a lot of progress in the last couple of years in areas that we haven't really focused on. I mean, even having the economic development department period is a huge step. So I think that'll continue, and these pieces that we've put in place, that department, tourism, downtown, all these other pieces, and as they start coming together and working together more so, I think we'll keep moving forward even more. So I appreciate your work in that. And I know it's been fun and not fun, but I hope you have a lot of fun in the future and enjoy wherever you go. And do you know where you're going, or?
Oh, I've been.
I haven't talked to you about this, but
I've been pretty open about it. I'm going to Washington State to work on behalf of the Tulalip federal tribe, and it's the only Native American tribe recognized by the U.S. government as a city, as a full-service city. So
I go through there quite often in the summertime.
So you know, it's on the Puget Sound.
Have you gone to the shopping mall? The Seattle Outlet Mall?
Oh, no.
That's their.
Okay. Yeah, casino, the rest stop on various trips.
I haven't been to the casino. I don't do
quite
casinos.
a few times.
Michael?
Well, I certainly have enjoyed working with you, James. I appreciate the positive attitude that you always have, even in the face of some of the challenges that we know we have in our city, and appreciate all your work in getting our DMMO off the ground and innovative things that you've done like BizPod. And I've enjoyed getting into the nitty-gritty of economic development with your help, learning how it works in other places and how it could work here. So best of luck to you, and thank you.
Thank you.
Well, James, thank you for your service to our city. I know, I think I started just a little bit after you had started, and it was in the middle of COVID coming out, and I remember when I was going around and meeting all the directors and managers, just as we were going through all of your programs, like it was just abundant to me, the wealth of ideas and knowledge that you brought to this position to help our businesses survive through that very difficult time. And then after that, look at how we can create and retain more businesses and grow. So I really appreciate all of that. And as Commissioner Smith said, I know that there have been highs and lows in this position. I don't envy the position that you've been in with urban renewal, but I think despite that, we have made a lot of gains in that area. But I know that it is likely very frustrating from a staff perspective as it is from a commission perspective to try and figure out what we can do with the limited tools that are available to us. And so I hope that in your new position, you'll be able to have the opportunity to go out and explore the possibilities there. So thank you again, just so much for the positivity and the knowledge that you've brought to this, and you will be missed.
Thank you. Well, I only got to really start working with you just over a year ago. But I appreciate everything you've done for the city. You've been there to answer questions for me, kind of catch me up on what's going on, and truly wish you the best of luck moving forward. And again, appreciate everything you've done for our city and for helping, onboard me to the city commission. It's been a pleasure to know you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I just want to concur with everything everybody said. I think, the innovation and the start of the COVID funding, we weren't the first to do it, but other people followed us. And I still hear positive comments about the fact that that helped many of our businesses get over the hump.
Yeah.
Some of them would not have survived if we hadn't been able to help. And I think it's just, the BizPod program, the changing things about how we look at money. You are getting involved with trying to create partnerships with other, particularly the county, which has not always been our friend, and being on some boards and committees for them saying, hey, we need to work more together. It's still siloed. You broke through part of the wall, but not entirely, and that's not your fault. So I just think that, you're going to have a good time. It's not Oregon, and I know that your foray into the Pacific Northwest was sort of a little bit of an eye-opener, but you'll find it a little wetter there. I hope that you'll get a chance to hike in the Olympic Peninsula. You won't really see any cougars or anything there, but
That's good.
just beware. There's always, and there's a tribe in that area, the Quinault Nation. But they have also a tribal facility, but the park itself is beautiful. And also, if you have a chance, go to swim. It has the lowest rainfall ever of anywhere in the United States. It's just an oddity. It's a very small little town, but when you come out of the Olympic Peninsula, your swim is an interesting little town. So we hope to hear from you, and we might all just come drop in on you individually. We now have to see this. We're curious, so thank you.
Well, and I can think of no better way to send him off than the city manager finally dangling the potential of moving the Metro Enhancement Grant Program out of economic development.
That was the deal breaker. He really didn't want to give it up.
I know he didn't, and so anyway, but thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Well, I guess I'll follow that up.
Sure.
Good evening, Mayor and City Commission. Quick refresh. We last brought the city seal design to you at a prior work session. There are a couple changes that were requested, namely the addition of Mount Hood back into the design, and then the inclusion of the obelisks on the bridge. Both of those have been added to the design. Evan's bringing them up. So just as a reminder, if we can, if you give your seal of approval to it, we will.
That's a chicken and the egg kind of thing. We need.
Well, he did make a seal noise, so that was at least.
I neglected to go that far into the pun. But again, if you approve this, then it'll go, just as the basic design, it'll go before a professional graphic designer who will clean it up, finish up, make it perfect and everything. I was just trying to avoid multiple rounds with the designer, which would get very expensive.
So yes, move it forward.
Yes, I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Just a few things. If I may.
I thought I got out of it in less than a minute.
So I think the incorporated 1844 probably ought to be
Bigger.
centered.
Yes.
And
I agree. I was struggling with the function.
yeah, and I know that there's only so much you can do
Yeah.
on the software that you
Centered in
have.
the
Yeah.
Blue, you mean?
Centered in the blue part, yes. And I wouldn't be opposed if it were a little bit.
It needs to be a little bit bigger. That's what we said last time. It needed to be bigger than what it was before.
Well, actually, last time I thought you wanted it smaller.
No, bigger.
No, I think it was.
It was bigger.
that- To make
Little
it.
bit
Oh,
bigger.
okay.
No, I think that Jared
It
was
sort of
right.
gets lost down there.
I thought the direction was make it smaller.
Yeah, that was my,
My note says bigger.
okay. Well, maybe that was your note from seeing this iteration, like
Yes.
maybe a happy medium of where we were. So I'm not necessarily opposed to that. I still, that Rockwell font, I have a hard time with that.
Well, it's going to change the font.
Well, I mean,
Would you prefer Comic Sans?
Yeah,
No,
I'm glad you, someone else knows the name of these.
the issue that we have here, not to get too far into the weeds, is whomever the designer was of our logo back in the day, they used a font called Helvetica New, which is fine, but then they also stretched it.
Yeah.
So that font is actually not a real,
Helvetica.
as it is, it's not a real thing. So, I mean, I can request the designer use that and try to make it match.
Because I think that there was a prior iteration where we were using some sort of sans serif font. I don't know what it was. And I also don't think that it necessarily needs to match the logo. Like we decided earlier,
don't either.
a seal is not the same as a logo
No.
and they serve two different functions. I appreciate the fact that you were trying to incorporate that into this because that was direction that we had given in the past. But I think that just with the curvature, the serifs make it more difficult to read than if it were just something different, even if it isn't the one that, even if it isn't the sans serif that we
What
use
is
in
our
the
style
logo.
guide? What is this font?
I'm sorry, I cannot see that.
This is our, on the agenda.
If the
And this is from
agenda,
the style guide.
there are some limitations on what the agenda can do in terms of using our fonts, our brand fonts. But I think that we got Rockwell in there, which is the serif one.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like to me.
And then there's an alternative that I had used that's like the Helvetica New called Whitey, W-I-D-Y. But since I've been using that, Adobe no longer supports that font.
What?
So yeah, I'm having to go with Plan C. But I
Do you want
can
it
work
to
with the
look
designer to come up
oldish?
with a sans serif font that looks good.
Yeah, what was that?
Do you want it to look a little, I don't know what the word is, but more,
Well, I think I would like it to look more modern, actually.
You want it to look more modern, okay.
I think more modern as a byproduct of it being more readable. That's what I'm concerned about, is just how readable it is with the serifs there. I don't have a problem with the font itself and when we use it on agendas and stuff, but it's more readable because it's in a straight line.
yeah. One of my new favorite fonts is Century School Book.
Well, and
I
I
like it
think-
because it looks a little old.
I think to that point, if our intention is with the seal to use it with like embossing, I think that, especially with smaller print, having all the serifs on there could make that increasingly difficult to read.
No, I agree. Maybe something like Century Gothic or whatever would be clean and simple to read. There's a couple like that.
I missed it. So incorporated 1844, we want it centered in the blue, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so
And
bringing
a little,
it
and a
down.
little bigger, or the size was okay? I missed that part when we were going back and forth. I got the centered in the blue, but
Yeah,
did
so
you want
bringing it down.
incorporated bigger, or were you okay with the size?
I think that being somewhere in between where it was the first time and
Okay.
now.
All right.
Because,
Okay, yeah, what I was when you say centered, I think it needs, there's too much, in my opinion,
it
there's too
goes
much
in the middle.
blue down
Yeah,
here.
that's what I'm talking
Yeah,
This will go in the middle.
Yeah, it needs to be
Yeah.
in there, and
Okay.
it could be just a little bit,
yes, because Jared was right that we asked him to make it smaller.
Okay.
I just think that maybe somewhere in between, sure,
Yeah.
where we were last time.
this has a little bit of blue at the top and a little bit of blue on the bottom. It just looks weird, like it's,
Right, and there were
Consistency on
just
top of
issues with the,
yeah.
I mean, I am 100% I am not a graphic designer, so I was trying to get as close as possible. But yes, those are easy things that I
Yeah.
can tell a designer, please do that.
Yeah.
I think overall you've done an excellent job
Yeah,
with the
I do
feedback
too.
that we've
Thank
given you and given you kind of that direction and what we're looking for. So I appreciate all the work you've put into it.
Thank you.
Can we do like a Where's James as a going away gift? Just hide him in there somewhere?
Actually, you're very lucky I have not hidden Bigfoot.
Well, I think you should put his initials in here and see if people can find it.
James
so-
was here.
Yeah.
Did Mike have anything?
Mike, comments? Can we move
Can't
this
see his
forward
picture.
for a design by a graphic
Yeah.
designer?
Yeah, no, the elements are good. I agree that a sans serif font, and I think that is going to, the incorporated 1844 is going to need to get bigger because this whole thing is going to be quite small when it's actually in use.
Yeah.
Right.
See, we're seeing it really big, but it's going to be.
Right, we're seeing it
And
big,
that'll
but
be
it's
like
not
that.
going
You won't even be able to read that.
So you're going to center incorporated 1844 up and down in the blue, and you're going to do the same thing with City of Oregon City,
Yeah.
Okay.
because it's not centered either.
Yeah.
Yeah, wait, we can do that.
Vertically.
All right, we have
Okay, yeah,
consensus.
vertically. Yeah, no, I think it looks great. Jared, thank you for all the work on it.
Yes.
It's looking good.
Thank you.
Good.
Move forward.
On this, could we just get a quick update about where things are with the flag? Because I know that there was something that went out in the trail news. If we could just get a
Yeah,
quick
I saw
update on
We
that.
started a battle with West Lynn about flags.
Oh, we did?
No, they started the battle, but
That's
I
true, we finished.
Yeah, it was one of their city commissioners.
It's rare that I get to troll back.
So hang on. So the one thing I would just also talk to the graphic designer, I like this. This just looks a little out of scale where the two on this side,
The obelisks?
yes, the ones on that end,
Or do you think they're too big or too small?
I think they're too tiny.
Too tiny? Okay.
They just need to be a hair bigger so that it kind of,
Oh, I see.
see,
Yeah.
yeah, see how they look like they're just sort of, if they were just a little wider and a little taller. It's supposed to be in the foreground, but the
Right.
arch of the bridge is kind of the same width all the way across. It's just, my eye went right to that when I said, oh, okay. That was it. So, yes. So did we, I thought yesterday or today was the day that we opened for comments.
It was last week, actually, but then people found it earlier and went with it. And
Yeah, I
I was
like the
fine
AI
with that.
flags. That was just like horrible.
We've had about 150, I think, responses. Those will be collected until the 15th.
And they're filling out the little form and.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, they're filling out the form, basically identifying, what are up to 3 elements of the city that you think are most identifiable with the city, and they can also be easily turned into some sort of simple icon graphic for the bridge, or for the flag. Once those are collected, I'll be giving those to Ted Kay with North American Vexillological Association. They'll put that out to their group, who will come up with some designs. We'll look at those designs, up to 5 of them we'll put out to social again to get resident feedback to see kind of what they think, and then after that, bring those designs back before the commission so you can both look at them, and then having taken into account what the residents have said on Facebook and Instagram and
Do we
whatnot.
think 5 is too many?
That's the max. That's not my goal. 5 is no more than 5.
Okay.
Preferably 3. I'm just
when
giving myself a window.
Yeah, when I was looking at the other cities, they got it down to 3, which
Yeah.
I thought was
Yeah.
reasonable.
Yeah, so that's my preference, but I didn't want to, if there just happened to be like a 4th or a 5th that is really close.
Yeah.
So then I can probably have the versions ready for commission review probably by mid-May is, I think, what the
wanna do that in
timeline
the
they said.
work session?
Said probably a month coming from the membership. So we should be able to have a design well before the July 4th goal that was set forth, if all things move smoothly. And then hopefully that'll give us enough time then to actually have one made before that July 4th event.
And are the members of the association, as they make these designs, are they just volunteering it, or?
Correct.
Wow.
This is a passion for a lot of those people. They enjoy
They're
doing
very
that. And
passionate about
a little
it.
bit of a bragging rights as well, saying, hey, I
Yeah.
designed the city's flag.
Nice.
So.
Yeah. I will say for the record that I suggested to Councilor Bonington that if they persisted with this, we were going to annex and call them West Oregon City again like they were back in the day. And he went, what? I said, yes, you were called West Oregon City at one time.
We
So,
reminded them.
huh? Oh, good, remind them,
Jared
yes.
reminded them.
Good, yes. 'Cause-
I took the liberty of making them a new welcome to sign and scratching out all their old names and.
And putting welcome to West Oregon City.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Yes, we appreciate that, yes.
I also did, I don't know if you noticed, I did endorse one of the designs that was on there.
I did not
It
see
was
that,
really,
no.
yeah, it's the screen capture basically from the old Oregon Trail game.
Yeah,
The cart and the oxen, it says you have died of dysentery. That's my vote, you know?
Did like that design, I'm not
Your
gonna lie.
veto, Chairman, sorry.
Oh,
Your veto.
It's
probably
Maybe that could be an
trademarked, I'm
alternate
sure.
city flag. We can have two.
It could be in Wilson land, not in Oregon City land. You could have your own flag.
I
right,
just
thank you.
can't get over the fact that we just had a conversation about serifs. Love it.
That is a first.
I have a whole book of fonts. I mean, it's
Commissioner
about
Wilson
that
already
thick.
he already has his city. It's called Wilsonville.
Well played.
Well, they can't have you, sorry.
It's okay, I prefer to stay here.
Okay. All right, so update on city projects.
Sure, thanks. So laid out for March, water system design standards update. So we revisit this every couple of years, trying to stay up with technology clarifications that we see. So this is really our engineering design standards that we utilize when development comes in, and then discussion about increased penalties for illegal tree removal. The 18th, I just want to give you guys a heads up. We kind of cleared the schedule on the 18th a bit. So I'm going to mix things up a little bit. So at 6 o'clock, we'll do our city commission work session from 6 to 7. We'll do these two items. Originally, we were not going to have any regular business, and we were just going to do urban renewal. We did get a request from ODOT to have a discussion about extending the time period that they're allowed to utilize the access along John Storm Park and Sportcraft Landing for the 205 bridge project. That has to get considered by the commission. So we added that as one item on the 18th at 7 o'clock, those two small consent items. So we're figuring we'll get done with that about 7:30, 7:45, and then we would have urban renewal to focus on the two houses, revisit Stimson, 10th and 12th. I'm going to put it all there, but not expecting that we get through everything at urban renewal. But it was trying to have a little more than 55 minutes for, it just seems like the discussion gets pretty condensed in that 55 minutes.
So we're going to talk about the Northwest Gateway, though.
Correct.
Okay.
And it'll be up to the Urban Renewal Commission what they'd like to talk about. But just trying to create a little bit more time. And then we'll also have an exec session for urban renewal that night. So you'll see a little bit of a different than our traditional agenda, how we've done them historically. Just like I said, just trying to get a little bit more conversation for Urban Renewal Commission. April 1st, Historic Review Board compatible use, introduction to housing capacity analysis. April 7th.
That's not any coincidence that it's April 1st, is it?
No.
Okay.
Not that I'm aware of.
Just checking.
Could be, I don't know, it's from planning. April 7th, SDC collection timing, as well as the look back, and then just a reminder about SEE filing. Into May, we have system development charge tiering for stormwater and transportation, and then invitation for Portland General Electric to come.
Question. Would it be possible when we have an update about the SEI filing, I'm assuming from the city recorder staff, would it also be possible to get an overview of the newly passed ethics rules?
Sure, yeah, let's see what we can put together. You guys can eat. So don't worry about that anymore.
It's the hot dog rule.
I can get rid of my policy about eating.
Just keep it until we don't need it.
Yes, we can try and get a Carrie to put
Believe
together a
me, I
little
made a
update
dig
on that.
at Lacey Beatty from Beaverton. She's the one that precipitated all this. I said, thank you so much for having us go through all this nonsense because of Costco hot dogs. See, I knew Costco was going to get in there somewhere.
Costco hot dogs are great.
I didn't say they weren't great. I just said this caused all the problems.
All right, any questions about upcoming agenda items, or if I'm missing anything?
Nope.
For work sessions?
See
Anything
if we
to
can
add?
Keep moving things forward.
Okay.
All right, you're up.
Oh, you want me to do city updates, or are you guys good on updates on city projects?
I think we're good. Would you like it? Okay.
Okay. Oops, grab that real quick. So for the Public Works relocation from Center Street, the commission approved the contract for the bulk bin and magnesium chloride. So that's essentially our winter response materials. We also received, Kelly did a great job working with Dana. And we received a 50-50 grant from Business Oregon, up to $33,000 for the Phase 1 environmental review at Center Street. So remember, we were talking, we know we've got some underground storage tanks at Center Street. So this will be the Phase 1 environmental. Having done this, it does open up, depending on what we find there, potential additional funding from Business Oregon.
For a Phase 2.
For a Phase 2
Oh,
as
good.
well.
Yeah.
Since it's
totally
a
recommend we do a
public.
Phase 2.
Public property. So we'll get that construction done. And then, just really focusing on, what do we got to do to Center Street to kind of get, some decisions made about, kind of like what we did with the Northwest Gateway project. What do we want it to be? Do we want to demo the building? Those type of questions moving forward. So
Can you
we'll
make sure that they check the parking lots when they do the Phase 1? Because there were houses there, older houses, and there could be some tanks there.
old
Old
oil tanks.
Old heating oil tanks, because that's how they heated stuff back in the day. And we don't really want to, because they just
That would
paved-
never happen to us.
I know, but I mean, they just paved them over.
Yeah.
Once the houses were demoed. I mean, they didn't do anything. They just put asphalt on top of it.
Yep. The quiet zone, so as you're well aware, the Urban Renewal Commission did approve the dedication of the property that's necessary for the project. We're also working on and there was an update that Dana gave to the commission at the last meeting. Really, there's no other changes than that. It's really trying to identify funding for that gap in the construction costs that continues to grow. It's scheduled to go to bid in October of this year, with construction to begin in early of '27. Like I said, I think our biggest concern is just that current estimate's about 1.6 million over budget. As I said before, we do have funding available in the transportation fund through gas tax. It just, it impacts the trickle-down effect of other projects getting delayed along the way to make that happen. We're also trying to identify if there'd be a way to use urban renewal funding to help fill that gap, while still being compliant with the limitations that exist in our charter.
Well, one of the things it's interesting is that to try to, you talk about balancing that. If we can get the quiet zone completed, it makes our property much more marketable. It gets put on the tax roll. It helps offset some of that transportation money that we would have spent on that.
For charter parks, we're bringing that back on April 1st for the commission to consider. We did reach out to Clack Fire as well as Oregon City Garbage, and we had some additional plans drawn up if we were to limit access on the existing access ways that are back there with bollards. There's two other properties that we've identified that are somewhat new that didn't pop, and Alex will be bringing it. Really, one of them is the apartment complex where we had the alley that was vacated and had that kind of unique bike ped easement over it. You have angled parking in there that if we bollard that, they would have to back out because they're essentially angled in, back out, drive through the park to the next block over. So we didn't really catch that. So this would be a new kind of discussion topic. The other thing that we're going to bring is the entirety of the McLaughlin Promenade is one big tax lot, and it actually continues north past the elevator, past the grand staircase. And as you're going down Singer Hill to the railroad track crossing, everything on the left is actually what part of that same tax lot. And that tax lot actually goes underneath the road and is on the right side of the road as you're going down the hill, up on the kind of that cliff side over there. So one thing that we're going to bring forward for the commission to consider is, as we dedicate this as a charter park, that we dedicate about 15 feet along the side of Singer Hill Road, so that if, in the future, if we ever have to put a new retaining wall in, or we need to expand the sidewalk, that we already have the right-of-way dedication so that we don't have to go to a vote or try to interpret the charter to make it okay to, get in there to do work. And then this little bit of remnant tax lot that bifurcated, that Singer Hill Road bifurcated the tax lot, the little bit that's on the right-hand downhill side, we would just dedicate that as right-of-way. It got bifurcated by the road. It's never going to be a park. It's hillside, cliff area. It just seems like if we're cleaning it up, this would be something the commission could consider to kind of clean up that area down there a little bit more.
The piece that you said goes under the road, I'm assuming is the tunnel connection.
No, I'm down by the railroad tracks, down at the bottom of the hill.
So if you come up the stairs,
Right.
at what point does that property line end? At what point does the property line between the promenade and that property you're speaking to and the
road?
McLaughlin house?
Oh, gosh.
As you go through the tunnel.
You still have the road in there. So the road right-of-way is there.
Right.
Right, so that ends the tax lot. Where I said it goes under the road is down by the railroad tracks at the very bottom of the hill. There's a little bit of that tax lot that as you come down the hill and you make the hard left across the tracks, that corner right there was part of the original tax lot before the road was in.
Okay.
So it looks like the road just got built over the top of it.
The piece of the tunnel that goes up to the McLaughlin house, is that just in the right?
It's in the right of way.
So it's not part of the McLaughlin property or the?
Nope, it's
separate.
Yeah, it's an interesting, because we dedicated the top part is right of way, so I would assume the bottom is too, like we consider right of way going down, you know what I mean?
Okay.
The McLaughlin house, the property that McLaughlin Park sits on does not go down the slope, it's at the top.
Does it go down the stairs though?
No.
No.
It's a separate tax lot.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure how that all.
Yep. So we'll be bringing that back on April 1st. Cayuse 5, I don't have an update concerning Cayuse 5. The courthouse, the developer came in and gave an update on the courthouse. We've also been asked to come back and have a discussion about the applicability and availability of park system development charges for Liberty Plaza. Just as a reminder for everybody, remember the developer entered into an agreement with Clackamas County for the purchase of the property. The agreement between the developer and the county is that after 60 days after occupancy, Liberty Plaza needs to be dedicated to the city. There is no requirement that it be updated, improved, right? I mean, it could just be dedicated as is. So a lot of this discussion is, is there any work that happens before that dedication in a kind of a coordinated agreement between the city and the developer as it relates to the applicability of system development charges to the property.
Are you saying there isn't, the county doesn't specify, they just say 60 days after occupancy?
And it could be as is.
Right.
Right.
Could be as is.
So there's no condition as part of sale with the county that it be improved or invested or money with it. Like literally it's just carve it off and give it away. That's the requirement. Anything above and beyond that is a negotiated agreement.
So the update concerning the potential design and applicability of SDCs, when you say that staff has been asked to bring that, was that a commission direction or a request by?
At our last
Okay.
meeting after Seth presented, it was because he had mentioned some of the improvements, he talked about some of those designs that he had, and we've been talking to him, and so there was a ask from the dais to bring back an update from Parks about, I think the hard part is like that's not in the Parks capital improvement plan, right? So not that adding a project is that difficult, right? It's more of how much is applicable for an SDC reimbursement, and then and for him, I would be worried anything over 748,000 all of a sudden kicks in Davis Bacon. You know what I mean? So, and the improvements I've seen are probably going to be more than that.
Well,
right.
When we were going through the Parks Master Plan, it was brought up, I know by me, about whether or not we should put a sentence in there about Liberty Plaza, because already the ball was starting to roll with the county internally that, you know, they would work with us on getting it, whatever that meant. So.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah, but that's why I'm leaving very loose. I mean, Martha Schrader office should sell us the courthouse for $1, but she's only one vote. So I just want to make sure that, I know he's going to be talking to PRAC, but I think that hopefully he'll be making a presentation to us and we can weigh in as either individuals or commissioners on what that design that he's, you know, talking about for the park. I mean, some of the elements he's told me about sound really great, and they're things that we wanted the county to do when we asked them, when they created Liberty Plaza, but they were not willing to do it, which was, one was electricity, which we couldn't get them to do that, which, you know, that would have been a really simple one since they built it. So that's just an ask that I have, because I think that we should have some input on that.
Okay. And I don't have an update related to Tumwater Village. We still continue our negotiations with both Confederate Tribes of Grand Ronde as well as the state around the $12.5 million. Feeling pretty confident that we're to a verbal agreement. We did provide revised language in the IGA to Grand Ronde to consider that we believe encapsulated the verbal agreements that we have. So we're just waiting to get that finalized.
Question.
Sure.
I know they're.
Are we still working on getting a tour scheduled since
Yes.
our colleagues
Yes.
in the city of West Lynn were afforded one?
Yeah, I had a great conversation with Stacia, more than happy to do it. I think it was more just kind of, one, getting us a little more time, like after 5 o'clock, and then just trying to accommodate work schedules to find a date that would work.
Yeah. When I saw her in person at a meeting, she said it's in the works.
Yep.
I said, good, because we can't be one-upped by Westland.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, they're more than happy to do it. It's just, yeah, finding the right time and date.
Yep.
That's all I have.
Hey, Mr. Wilson, you're up.
All right. For CIC, this month, the majority of the meeting was with PGE, kind of talking about some of their services and programs, and they did point out, reminding folks if they need, supportive services or discounted rates on the bills, the way to apply to it. But the good news for folks in Oregon City is that the question did come up about if you're concerned of, service delivery or rates or customer satisfaction. PGE did let us know that you do have the option of moving or installing solar. So good news.
I don't have the option of doing solar at my house.
I'm just saying, that's
I have
what
too
they
many.
let
Should I
us
cut
know
down
we
all
could
my?
do.
Should I cut down the trees in the city's right away to get solar?
Do what you have to do. But again, you can move. That is an option if you're just
Well, I
satisfied
think
with
you have to
PGE.
live in the city to be on commission. So
That's fair.
You do, yes.
And for the,
But you don't have to stay on the commission. You could,
I could just move.
you could just move.
Maybe I'll move to West Oregon City.
your term does end at the end of the year.
Yeah.
I'm just, for the Homeless Solutions Coalition, they did have their kind of longer annual meeting this past Monday. And I think for the most relevant updates, they're making solid movement with fundraising, and they are still, per their plans and kind of where they're at, anticipating at least moving the Father's Heart into the new site by Q4 of 2026. So they are looking at having at least that portion of services up and running in there. And then potentially some of the other partners moving in Q1 of 2027. So definitely an ambitious project, and they're well underway with getting that project rolling.
They're trying to keep promises they've made to the neighborhood.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, and they're continuing. I've given them some suggestions regarding outreach and communication as they continue on. But again, we could see that up and running here this year.
Yeah. I'm going to skip over to Commissioner Marl since yours have a little overlap for your report.
Well, I would still like to report.
Yes, I said I'm skipping over to you.
Okay.
I said
thought you
skipping,
said-
oh, no, I'm not. No, I said I'm skipping over to
Okay,
you.
I wasn't the only one who thought that, okay.
I said skipping over to you.
Yeah, so I wasn't able to attend CIC due to work, but Commissioner Wilson did a great job summarizing. The only thing I'll add, because I did watch the recording, is that I know that there have been a lot of concerns about the impact that the lack of postcards will have. And I think there were 1 or 2 neighborhood associations that reported that after this first slew of meetings without having the postcards, that they still had regular attendance for membership.
They
So,
did?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yes, they did talk about that, and
So that is great news.
Yes.
Youth Advisory, we had that last night, and we got a tour of the Pioneer Center. They got to learn about the various services that I think even I wasn't well-versed on, that we provide to not just our seniors, but to all of our residents. And so it was great to be able to show them that part of our city and the work that we do there. C4, as I've stated earlier, we're rotating where we have our in-person meetings, and so we were in Malala. And
Did you meet at City Hall?
no, we met in their new police building. So it was very beautiful. And the topic of ODOT funding came up, and as we were discussing how it came about that, you know, we go through these processes and each region gets to nominate certain projects to be funded, to be put on these lists. And of course, Clackamas County's was Sunrise Corridor. And I simply brought up the fact that although I love the Sunrise Corridor project, I'm just wondering when we are going to be uplifting other projects in Clackamas County that aren't just that. And I think some people took offense to that. As someone pointed out, well, we wouldn't ask the city of Wilsonville to put the Boone Bridge on their TSP. And I was like, well, that's exactly my point when I'm trying to say that the county should be including their jurisdictional roads that are within city limits on their own transportation system plan. So someone came up to me after the meeting from one of the CPOs and was like, well, it's a really important project, and I think you really ought to come drive out on Highway 212 to see what it's really like. And I said, I will come drive out on Highway 212 if you guys stop driving on our roads. So it's just, it's a constant tension between the cities and the unincorporated areas, and the fact that we subsidize a lot of services for the unincorporated residents. And even on top of that, as they're talking about their TSP update now, they're only talking about the unincorporated areas with the tax dollars that cities also pay. So it's just really frustrating, and obviously we're there to create and cultivate relationships, because that's part of the reason why we were so successful in the tolling conversation. But it is going to be difficult as we move forward, because it seems like every meeting I'm there, we're just voting on letters of support or recommendation for Sunrise.
Well, you can vote no.
And there are so many other opportunities. Well, in the absence of other options presented, it's difficult to do that.
Are
But-
any of the other cities chiming up about this as well? Because they know, I've informed all the mayors of the other cities in Clackamas County that none of the roads that they have in their jurisdictions that are county related are in that TSP. They were all shocked.
Yeah, I mean, I get nods of approval, but I don't think people want to.
Rock the boat?
Right.
Well, we're gonna rock it.
I could just real quick.
Please.
I know I provided the commission an update before about how the county informed Gladstone and us that they would not be doing High Rocks safety. We had another meeting with them, and AMR came back with essentially a proposal to cover the holidays. So we've got more, no. I'll stop real quick.
Yes, please stop.
It is, we didn't start this fight, but I know.
Who just put that up?
I know that there's, sometimes Jared comes to me and I'm kind of like no, man, we
Look at the
can't do
traffic
that.
jam
No,
there.
we can't do, that's not right.
Look at
So
the
I said-
swirl.
I said, go for it.
appreciate the artisanal kombucha.
Yeah, so this
So
was.
where's the sparkling drinking fountain?
Right, and then here's our other favorite one. These are all the previous names of Westland.
Yeah, oh, I got some, there's
So
some
this is
more.
we're gonna put this at 10th Street, I think.
Okay, well, it was Robin's Nest, Lynn City.
Lynn City.
West Oregon City.
Yeah.
And then West Lynn. See,
There was a bunch.
We were doing it on the fly.
Yeah, there's a
Now-
bunch
now
more
you
in
know,
there,
it's
too.
on the
There's a
record,
bunch
it
of-
was
they
Lynn
had-
City.
They actually voted on the names, and so there was a bunch of different names
Yes.
too. Williamsburg, I think.
Williamsburg was one, but it never really got into the lore yet.
Yeah, there was.
So which side is ours on that? Can you put that back? Which side is ours?
We're just making fun of
I know.
West Lynn.
So is all the stuff on the West Lynn side, we got the goat? Is the goat on our side?
Well, that's Goat Island, isn't it supposed to be? Isn't that Goat Island right
The
below?
problem is that's the Gladstone Bridge right there.
Is that a fish hanging out there without any water?
It's AI. You can't
I
have too
know.
high of expectations.
And what's the name of the drink? I can't even read that from
It's
here.
kombucha.
Oh, it's on our side or their side?
There's,
Okay. I like the gnome being absconded with by the squirrel.
anyway, we had some fun with
Is
it.
that a ferry that the cars were on?
That was our comms.
Okay.
So we ended up meeting with AMR and they came up with a proposal. So we have Memorial Day, 4th of July and Labor Day tend to be the 3 holidays. And then they went back and looked at the average number of days over 90 between Memorial Day and Labor Day, and it's 12 to 14. So they gave us a proposal of the 3 holidays plus 14 days of coverage. It comes out to about $36,000. Of which we're discussing splitting that between us, Gladstone, and the county so that we have some coverage over there at least. So that's kind of where we're at on that. Coming up with the $12,000 isn't the issue. I think it's more of the long term. What are we going to do here?
And that would be my question, like, okay, this is summer of 2026, what about 2027?
Yeah.
Right. What's interesting is that on the Oregon City side, I've talked to the chief. We don't actually have, it's in our city limits, but it's not public land, right? So essentially anybody walking down there is trespassing on private property or they're on ODOT right away. So we are looking at additional signage, as well as the police department's going to reach out to the property owner to see if we can get a trespass agreement related to folks getting on there. Very different than the Gladstone side where it's an actual, it's a public park right there. Nothing is ideal in that spot, right? It's just not a good spot for people to be diving in the river. But it's tradition and it's been there, and we can't just plop an officer down there, to trespass folks all the time.
What are the initial conversations about how it will be split up between Oregon City and Gladstone? Like, are we just talking 50-50 or?
Three-way.
Three-way.
Third between.
I know, but
Oh.
simply be the city aspect.
Would-
Would it be equally among us?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so essentially 12,000
Okay.
an entity. And we'll see, I have a meeting with them tomorrow. That was where we kind of verbally got to. I don't know ability to pay for Gladstone. I know there was a concern. We'll see how that conversation goes tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah, the reason I wonder is because I think there's a balance between, we are a bigger city and we have more resources, which isn't to say that they aren't already allocated, but we are a bigger city, but on the other hand, theirs is actually a park.
Yeah, we
Right.
don't have a
Whereas
park.
ours is not.
It's not.
So I think that somewhere like that makes sense.
If we can get there. Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
I feel fortunate enough that we can that we have flexibility to cover this. I don't have flexibility to cover 240 grand, right? But we do have to at least do something down there.
Well, short of them completely blocking that off, they don't really have an option. They don't have any options.
No,
People are gonna go
the
there.
education and
That's- yeah.
ticketing that it would take to change the behavior there would
It's
be
not gonna
significant.
happen. Yeah. Yeah, it's unfortunate. I just worry about, they didn't really get to the crux of the recreational immunity law that the cities needed or wanted.
Yeah.
So there's still some of that hanging out there, which concerns me.
Yep.
But yeah, I think getting trespass agreements on our side would be part of the way to go. So, all right.
Mike, Commissioner Mitchell just texted me and said he lost his internet connection.
Oh, okay.
So
All right.
I think we'll
So-
just conveniently.
Yeah.
Well, you know.
Mine never goes out in the middle of these.
Well, you know, he is in a foreign country and they could have rolling blackouts.
Could I just, to
Oh,
finish
please.
off
Oh,
real
please,
quick, I
yes.
forgot.
No, just
So,
take whatever time you need.
At next week's meeting, I won't be there for any of them because I will be en route back
C4?
home. No, from the National League of Cities.
Okay, yeah.
So that's the night that I'm returning, and I think I land at like 8 o'clock. So assuming I get back, I don't think I'll be back in time, hopefully by the
Yes,
time
well,
the
like I
meeting
said, if
is
you have
over. So-
anything specific other than what we've discussed, give me some bullet points and I will target your comments specifically. You're up, sir.
I don't really have any reports. But I will say, we were, South Fork, I guess, I don't know if anyone's talking about South Fork, but
You can talk about South Fork.
I'm trying to remember.
I got my notes. I
We
just
went
have to-
over,
Is there preparation about potential low water
yes,
over the summer?
yes, so that was brought up.
It was our meeting, it was the 20-something of,
We didn't go over a lot but they are preparing for that possibility. We went over the chemical feed bill, well, we aren't calling
oh,
it that
yes, it's
anymore.
a new name. Water quality treatment,
Building.
something.
And talked about the American Water Works Association conference coming up. And I believe me and the mayor will be attending that in June. I can't remember if I'm missing anything else.
Where is
Okay.
it this year?
DC.
In Washington
Oh,
DC.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, so, yeah, we had the financial audit.
Yes, yes.
We got a clean bill of health on that. We talked about the proposed, you talked about the building, but
Yeah.
we are, South Fork is going to be doing some neighborhood outreach and also attending Park Place neighborhood meeting. They are going to do everything they can to minimize light and noise impacts. There's going to be 2 storm retention ponds on the site. And we did find out that we had a utility line
Oh, yes.
that is probably going to be relocated. The building isn't quite sited on it, but it's close enough that it's making them
Yeah.
a little
it's close
anxious that
enough
the
to
building's
the
going to be
footprint of
shifted
the building
over.
that it might have an issue.
Did we already tell them we hired a new project manager for that? I think we talked about that last month. And we're now at, they were very complimentary of the city and the process that they've gone through to review the plans, and we're at 90% plan review. So we probably will be doing some groundbreaking this year. We did have a intake screen repair, so
Yeah.
it's the one up the river, and it's just, you know, stuff comes down and bashed into it, so we're gonna have that repaired. It was installed in 1996, so there's some wear and tear there. Said operations and maintenance update, dealing with some non-conforming site constraints.
Yeah.
Our next big project is the raw water line, so that's already in process of moving that forward. So that's what we talked about at South Fork.
Not a committee report, but I should mention this as I did at the last commission meeting, but now we know a little bit more detail. Both the girls' basketball team and boys'
Yes.
basketball team will be playing in the quarterfinals this
Cool.
week for
Wow.
the state tournament. The boys play tomorrow night at Chiles Center, University of Portland at 6:30 against Jesuit, and the girls play Benson Tech Thursday at 6:30 at the Chiles Center. And so if then the tournament goes throughout the weekend, so hopefully they do well.
That's good news.
I also have a quick item if I can.
Oh, absolutely.
Wonderful. So I was talking with my son, my 11-year-old, who's a 6th grader at Tumwata. And he came to me really distressed and frustrated because he's like, Dad, there are kids vaping in the bathrooms here. And he pointed out to me, and he was like, didn't you guys talk about at the commission, like having a ban on vapes or something like that?
I brought it up to the subcommittee.
Yeah,
at-
and so-
At Youth Advisory.
And so that's my question, is that I don't know exactly where the Youth Advisory Committee is. I know we I think passed a resolution in support of it, but kind of want to know where we're at, if this is something that we can revisit, because I see the impact on kids. I work at the hospital with kids in my full-time job. I see the impact of nicotine addiction on these guys, and I really feel a duty. If we can do something, we should do something. And so I'd very much like to revisit that conversation.
Well, the next steps is they were planning to have us go with them to the county commission to ask them to pass the same resolution that we did. And that's where it got stalled.
And I think that's great, and also, I think there are things we can also discuss at a city level.
You want that want to revisit that on an agenda? Okay.
I would like to.
Okay.
Like, because again,
I'm
we
supportive
can
of
ask the
that.
county to do things, and they may or may not, but that doesn't mean that we don't have power as a city to protect our citizens.
Exactly.
Yeah, I would be supportive of that, and I think the mayor's right. It ended up being us passing the resolution urging the county commissioners to ban it because they're the ones who are able to do it,
Right.
apart from the state.
Right.
But if there are other things that we can do, then I would be open to looking at that.
One, Gabby asked me whether or not we could pass a ban within our city limits, and I said, I don't know.
I don't think so.
So I said, well, we'll find out.
Yeah, so I think that would be one of the things to look into if we were to say ban it within the city limits. Is that something that we can do?
Yeah, because I assume it would have been done already. I do know that in Washington County, they've banned the sale.
Right. And it applies not only to the county, but to all the cities.
What?
I think it's kind of like alcohol, right? It's probably county health,
Right.
Yes. Yeah.
but we can look.
Yeah.
We'll look into it.
Yeah. I said I didn't know.
Like, I don't know who does, I'm not sure if, like, you know, because like sometimes we do underage sales stings.
Yeah.
Right?
We could
Like,
do a vape
Could
sting.
you increase the penalties for the
Yeah.
That'd be, yeah. That's
businesses
something to do.
that sell?
I did
you know,
mention
I'd
it.
have to check, but I
I
think
said I knew
that's
somebody that
something
goes
we
to-
could
Yeah.
control.
Ex-school, and this is an issue for them.
Yeah, I think there are lots of avenues to explore, but I don't feel good about, hey, we passed this resolution and let's move on.
Yeah, well, I mentioned that to that group. I said, you asked us to pass this resolution, and we did, and we've kind of lost our momentum. So there's less desire on their part, but they know it's a problem. Okay, so what didn't we talk about? Did you talk about Clackamas Heritage Partners? You have one on the 16th, I think. Yeah, okay. DMMO? They have? Oh, did they have a meeting?
I think they had one on the last holiday.
On the 16th? Oh, it was President's Day.
Okay, January 19th.
Oh, yeah. So don't forget.
On
Yeah.
President's Day in February?
Yeah, so anyway, just text me if you can't go. I have them on my calendar, but I don't know if you're going to be there or not. So if you can't go, just tell me so I can try to get there. Water Environmental Services, we have a meeting coming up on the 12th, and unfortunately, they are in budget process again because they do theirs on a yearly basis. But they met with Matt, and they are looking at going to the way we do our budgeting is every 2 years. It's just a lot of work. We just got out of budget, and now we're back in budget again. So that's going to be one of the things on our agenda. They did talk about at our last meeting all about some of the issues we had with the big rainstorm and the overflow and the exploding sewer manhole that went up on McLaughlin Boulevard that blew out on the street. So we talked about that. And other than that, we're looking for some new representatives from the Happy Valley area. And I think there's one other vacancy. They're looking for somebody in the development community. And I suggested a couple of, not home builders, because we already have one of those on there, but some people in the development business that are not home builders. So that's what they're talking about for that. Let's see, Downtown Oregon City Association, well-lit trees. They're about 2/3 of the way in completing the match for the grant that they have on that project, and they've moved on down the street. So I believe they're at 7th, and they haven't crossed quite 7th yet. But that's going on. Then, of course, planning is underway for the first city festival, and they're looking at hiring, again, a event planning group to manage the event along with volunteers. There are new board members on there. One of our BizPod graduates is now Jen Fox is on the board. I can't think of Ashley's last name, but he owns Barry McNulty's. He is now on the board as well. MPAC, interestingly enough, they talked a lot about, I watched the video, which was very painful. They talked a lot about, it was all about transportation, but no decisions were made. Some of you know that on the proposal to bring light rail to Montgomery Park area, I voted against that as a matter of principle because they haven't shown that bus is not better and cheaper. They already have bus lines on there, and they're talking about spending jillions and billions of dollars on a light rail line that may or may not be needed. There's still some preliminary futzing around with SHS, but I know that the Metro mayors recommended Joe Buck and Lisa Beatty to be the representatives on that committee if that ever gets up and running. Let's see, South Fork, we already kind of talked about. There is a new exhibit opening at the Historic City Hall. It involves landings, and there's also going to be an event that's a book club. We're reading Willamette Landings by Howard Corning, and it's basically talking about the river up and down. It's for the Rereading History Book Club. And the Locks Authority is working on several things. Number one, we have a document that we're going to be signing with the Corps that involves us agreeing to take over the locks from the Corps. It's just the preliminary document. It's not the final document, but at least we're making steps in that direction. And we're doing a request for proposal for an owner's representative for the construction that the locks is actually going to be in charge of. We're working with the Corps on their project right now, and they're almost done with that. So we look at anticipating that that will happen. The transfer hopefully will happen, I'd say 27, but you know, the Corps moves very slowly. They're entirely funded by the federal government, so it's been interesting, but they're still working with us, which is good. So that was at least encouraging. And I think that is, that's it. That's the request for proposal. We did have an audit and as well, and we're probably going to be hiring Aldrich to do it. They're pretty much the only ones that do municipal work. And they're going to be doing some fundraising for organizations that are outside of our city partners. But right now, everything's on budget and on track. So that's it. And all my meetings are next week. Anything else? Chairman, would you like to adjourn the meeting?
So adjourned.
Okay, we're done.